Chapter 19. When Gu Chansha returned from the mountains, it was still snowing heavily. The mountains and rivers were all spotlessly white. At this time of year, even the royal palaces of the 6 tribes were all on holiday. The officials and lowly officials were all sitting around the fireplace. Gu Chansha didn't encounter any obstacles on his way back from the mountains. He shut himself in his small room and meditated on his martial arts. At the same time, he sent his foster son out to contact Long Yuyun's people. His godson followed orders and went out. He sat alone in the room and listened to the sound of the snow and his own breathing. He felt like the world had quieted down, and he entered a mysterious realm once more. As Xiao Chan breathed, he could feel strands of energy spinning within his body, flowing through his acupoints. He used the sun and moon refinement technique to train his body and observe his meridians. He realized that there were many areas in his meridians where many strong medicinal powers had yet to be dissolved. So, the power I obtained from the sacrifice and the Longjin pill is actually left in my meridians. If not for the sun and moon refinement technique, the power would have dissipated. Gu Chansha took in a deep breath and circulated his meridians, gathering the medicinal powers in his dantian and stomach. Gradually, his lower abdomen became slightly plump, as if he was growing fat. Who knew how long passed? He opened his eyes and felt that his stomach was as hard as iron. He lifted his shirt and saw dense scales growing on it. Sun and moon dragon scales. Gu Chansha was delighted. As expected, the sun and moon refinement technique is really amazing. When one cultivates it to a high level, one can turn excess energy into sun and moon dragon scales. Even if one is in danger, one can use the sun and moon dragon scales to provide for one's needs. Bears would eat and drink in autumn and turn the nutrients in their bodies into fat. They would then hibernate and use the fat to provide energy without eating or drinking for the entire winter. The sun and moon refinement technique stored the excess life energy in one's body and turned it into sun and moon dragon scales that were much better than fat. Each sun and moon dragon scale could last for a month. Gu Chansha had dozens of sun and moon dragon scales in his stomach, which meant that he could not eat or drink for a few years and still be able to talk and laugh freely. Moreover, the defense of these sun-moon dragon scales was really high and could block blades, axes, and even internal strength. If they covered his body, he would be comparable to someone at the 3rd transformation of the Tao realm, the copper skin of iron bones. Of course, if he covered his entire body with sun and moon dragon scales, he wouldn't look like a human. In the primordial era, this wasn't much. Many emperors had dragon heads, human heads, and dragon bodies. Some even had 3 heads and 6 arms. However, it wasn't possible now. Therefore, the most Gu Chansha could do was to refine the sun and moon dragon scales on his lower abdomen and some other important acupoints that weren't exposed. His current martial arts had already reached the limit. No matter how many pills he consumed or how many ferocious beasts he sacrificed, the impurities would still accumulate in his meridians. Instead, it would obstruct his meridians and eventually lead to his illness, which would become a disaster. He would store the excess energy as the sun and moon dragon scales. This way, he would be able to be free from a mundane world and absorb too many impurities, which would be the best. After transforming the excess medicinal power and nutrients in his meridians into the sun and moon dragon scales, he felt extremely comfortable. His power had increased by another level. It's a pity that my body is enough, but my spirit is still far from it. It seems like I really have to go to the battlefield and fight to the death. I have to wander between life and death to comprehend. Gu Chansha knew his weakness. It was that he didn't have enough actual combat experience, especially when it came to life and death battles. He heard footsteps and pushed open the door. He saw that his godson had just entered. When his godson walked, his footsteps were erratic. It was as if he was dancing on a lotus leaf. He was graceful and beautiful, like smoke and willow. It was obvious that he had learned some unique skills. Master, I've already gotten in touch with that Long Yuyun you mentioned. She's already prepared a manor for you by the canal outside the city, and she's even raised a group of experts for you to use. She stationed herself there, and she's been gathering intelligence. In addition, she has also taught me a set of martial arts, the Shaolin Frost technique. She said that it is the most suitable for me to learn. Why don't you try practicing it? Master, wait for me to give you the things first. Long Yuyun said that the things you want are in here. His godson took out a bag. Gu Qinsha grabbed it and opened it. It was a bright yellow imperial edict. The thick emperor's qi circulated within. Others couldn't feel it, but for someone like him who cultivated the emperor's god sealing technique, it had a heavy impact. This was issued by the heavenly talisman emperor, so it was even more effective. Wonderful. Gu Qinsha grabbed the imperial edict and walked into the house. Little godson, watch outside. Don't let anyone in. Got it. Inside the house, Gu Qinsha took out the heaven sacrifice edict and burned it. He dripped his blood on it, using the emperor's qi in the edict as a sacrifice to the heavens. But as the whole house was shining, this time, the light in his mind was even more intense. Countless profound thoughts and martial arts theories came one after another. The vast will penetrated his heart. Sun and moon shine together. Sun and moon change. The changes of the sun and moon are not contained within. The changes of yin and yang are not contained within. The second style was sun and moon change. There were 10 styles of sun and moon shine together. Gu Qinsha was familiar with the sun and moon refining. The first style was spirit refining. The second style, sun and moon change, was to harmonize with the sun and moon. Qi, blood, acupuncture points, and meridians followed the path of the sun and moon. From there, one's soul and spirit would be like the radiance of the sun and moon. Thousands of martial arts could be derived, and endless changes could be simulated. The sun and moon change was included within. Especially this style, it could hide one's cultivation. It could change into many levels and simulate all the martial arts in the world for one's own use. The soul as the moon, the spirit as the sun. The soul and spirit as one. The sun and moon would be bright, illuminating the world. How great would it be if one's own radiance was the same as the sun and moon? Without the sun and moon, how could there be thousands of martial arts? Without the sun and moon, how could there be thousands of martial arts? Good. After a long time, Gu Qinsha opened his eyes and an ecstatic expression appeared on his face. This style, sun and moon change, hides one's aura. As long as it is mastered, no one will be able to detect one's own aura. Other than that, it also has the functions of nurturing, concealing, nurturing, transforming, and transforming aura. I can use this to simulate the giant spiritual energy. Its power will be even greater, and no one will be able to detect it. He used the sun and moon change. As expected, the aura on his body flickered and became dark and gloomy. The heavens are helping me. The heavens are helping me. Gu Qinsha smiled. My martial arts are already at the peak of the Grandmaster level. However, I can't use it or people will find out about my flaws. But now, I can use the sun and moon change to simulate the giant spiritual bloodline. I can also be extremely powerful. This way, I can announce to the public that I am the first person to activate the giant spiritual bloodline in 100 years. This will be of great value to the imperial court. He closed his eyes and began to think. He used the sun and moon change in his body according to the cultivation method of the giant spiritual energy. Suddenly, a great power appeared in his limbs and bones. When the giant spiritual bloodline is first condensed, the limbs and bones will be extremely powerful. When the organs are activated, the breath will be like thunder and the force will be like a huge wave. This was recorded into the Great Spirit God technique. Now that Gu Qinsha used the sun and moon change to simulate it, it was simply flawless. It was difficult to tell the real from the fake. The Great Spirit God technique was an ancient technique. Once the giant spiritual bloodline was activated, its power was boundless and far surpassed any other martial arts. However, the Great of the Son of Heaven's God-sealing technique was far higher than the Great Spirit God technique. When it simulated the Great Spirit God technique, not only was it impossible to tell the real from the fake, it was also much more powerful, than the original giant spiritual bloodline. Congratulations on advancing to the next level. Seeing Gu Chansha come out of the room, the little foster son was shocked. Master, you've only been here for a short while, yet you've already learned a divine technique. I feel like your aura is like an abyss, and I can't see how deep it is. That's a great comprehension, Gu Chansha said. That's right. Did Long Yin find out anything about Lu Baiwe? Even though this woman is close to me under the Emperor's orders, she looks down on me and even has intentions of harming me. Before I reach the Dao realm, I have to be on guard against her schemes. It's best to know both myself and the enemy. This is the recorded information. Please have a look, Master. The little foster son took out something that looked like an account book. After opening it, there were densely packed records of the recent activities of the major families' mansions in the capital, such as which family went to which family and who they hosted banquets for. The Dragon Sword Island is like a centipede that dies but doesn't fall down. They actually have such a huge power in the capital. Gu Chansha was shocked. When he flipped to the information about Lu Baiwe, there was only one. The 10th Prince, Gu Chansha, invited Lu Baiwe to his mansion for a gathering. Lu Baiwe rejected him with the reason that she was in seclusion. Lu Baiwe sure knows how to avoid arousing suspicion. Father allowed her to get close to me, and she immediately distanced herself from the 10th Prince. Gu Chansha was very clear about those schemes. Then what do we do now? The little foster son rolled his eyes. I don't think the progress of my martial arts can be hidden from the eyes and ears of the princes in the capital. In the past, I didn't have the strength, so they wouldn't purposely target me. But now that my cultivation is so high, I'm afraid I've already prepared for this. None of those princes and ministers are kind people. They must have known that I've been training hard in martial arts for a long time, so they would definitely plot against me. That's why I thought of a way to leave the capital and go to the border to fight with the demons and barbarians. As long as I have enough time, I'll be able to grow. Gu Chansha suddenly waved his fist. There was no sound of wind, but the air seemed to have been cut open like butter. Then there was a muffled bang, and the air closed again like a dam that had cut off the flow of water. When the little foster son saw this fist, he was so upset that he almost vomited blood. The power of my fist is actually so magical. Gu Chansha himself was shocked. This was a fist that was made with the power of the sun and moon transformation. Even a normal fist technique could turn something rotten into something magical. How powerful would a profound martial art be? Yes, someone is coming. He still wanted to give pointers to the little foster son's fist technique. His ears twitched slightly, and there was a sound coming from afar. Creak, creak. Not long after, a few eunuchs stepped on the snow and arrived at the entrance of the courtyard. The eunuch in the lead shouted, "There's a decree. 19th Prince, receive the decree." Your son receives the decree. Gu Chansha was taken aback and hurriedly prostrated himself on the snowy ground in the courtyard. The little foster son knelt by the side of the corridor. The eunuch stood to the south. Today, there will be a snow hunt. All the princes are to gather at the hunting grounds of Nanshan. I want to test your martial arts skills. The eunuch was reading out the decree of the heavenly talisman emperor. Your son receives the decree. Gu Chansha received the scroll and stood up. I'll make the preparations. Little foster son, take the money and buy some wine for your father-in-law. Sure. The little foster son took out a piece of paper and handed it over. The eunuch wanted to decline, but when he realized that it was a $100 bill, he was surprised and overjoyed. He gripped it tightly in his hands. Chapter 20. After the eunuch put away the $100 bill, he looked at him deeply and said, 19th Master, next year, the Emperor will personally go to the barbarians for the 3rd time. Although this hunt is a test of martial arts, it is actually because Marquis Jusher has captured a group of barbarian masters and escorted them to the capital. The Emperor has imprisoned these barbarians in Nanshan Hill. This time, he has asked the princes to go and kill the barbarians. It is not just a simple hunt. Thank you, eunuch. Gu Chansha knew that this was the effect of the $100 bill. This information was very important. Then I will take my leave. It is best to arrive on time and not make the emperor unhappy. The eunuch turned and left the small courtyard. Master, what should we do? His godson said, Should we go hunting? In the past, you have always pretended to be sick this time. Gu Qinsha thought for a moment and said, The news of me practicing martial arts has already spread. If I continue to pretend to be sick, people will have something to use against me. Besides, I have already accepted the imperial edict. I cannot bear the crime of defying it. That is true. Sooner or later, I will have to face the complicated situation of the court. I cannot drag it on like this. His godson was also looking forward to it. I will rush to Nanshan hunting ground. You can practice martial arts at home. If there is anything, contact Long Yiyun. As he spoke, Gu Qinsha took out a sheepskin coat and wrapped it tightly around his body. He stepped out through the snow. His martial arts were successful, so he did not need a coat, but he still had to put on a show. He hurried through the wind and snow, heading to Nanshan Hill. After he left the capital, the snow became heavier and the whirlwind blew. The world was white, and he could not see the road in front of him. Fortunately, his martial arts were profound, and he walked as fast as he could. Gu Qinsha had already achieved some success in practicing the training of the sun and moon. In ancient times, there were giants chasing the sun. This was a divine power that was comprehended from practicing the training of the sun and moon. He could even catch up to the sun. With such speed, his movements were naturally marvelous. As he hurried, he seemed to become one with the wind and snow. He did not use any strength and moved forward with the help of the wind and snow. Gu Qinsha let out a clear whistle, and his body grew 3 feet. He was as tall and mighty as a giant spirit. He sped up, like a snow elf floating in the wind and snow. In about an hour, he arrived at the foot of Nanshan Hill. Normally, it would take 4 hours to travel from Jing City to Nanshan Hill on a fast horse, not to mention the heavy snow. Stopping at the foot of Nanshan Hill, Gu Qinsha breathed evenly without any physical exhaustion. He silently used his spirit to check his internal organs, muscles, bones, acupuncture points, and meridians. He found that he was still full of vitality. He couldn't help but sigh. I have completely digested the strength of the wolf, bear, and python and turned them into my own strength. The wind and snow had stopped, but the ground was already covered in several feet of snow. Anyone who stepped on it would sink into the snow, making it difficult for them to move. However, at this moment, there were many soldiers and ceremonial guards at the foot of Nanshan Hill, and the snow on the official road had been cleared. Dragon flags were fluttering in the wind, and it was full of activity. Layers of obstacles were set up on the official road, and giant tents were also set up. There were also many royal carriages and horses coming on the official road. When the emperor went out, hundreds of officials accompanied him, and the ceremonial guards stretched for 10 miles. This was not ostentatious, but basic etiquette and dignity. If not, it would not be enough to shock the world, and not enough to cultivate the emperor's qi. All dignity was nurtured in etiquette. There were people setting up obstacles on the road. When they saw Gu Qinsha walking over, they immediately shouted, "Who is it?" "It's me." Gu Qinsha took out the identity card of a prince. This was something that was checked every day when he entered and left the palace. When he came of age, he would open his own mansion, and this identity card would have to be turned in. In the future, he would have to report to the palace and get permission. "Oh, it's the 19th prince. Go in. The emperor hasn't arrived yet, and we are in charge of guarding the imperial guards. Some of the princes have arrived and are resting in the camp at the foot of the mountain. The 19th prince can go there for the gathering." The soldier was very polite and immediately led the way. In the center of the camp, there were many tents that were heavily guarded. However, there were many princes walking back and forth, communicating with each other. They were taking advantage of the emperor's hunt to increase their connections. There were even princes who befriended ministers and officials, strengthening their positions and gaining support. In the past dynasties, the emperor would forbid the princes and officials from forming cliques. This was to prevent the princes from forming cliques to rebel against the emperor. But in the Heavenly Talisman dynasty, the emperor encouraged the princes to get close to the ministers. This would make it easier for them to get things done. Not only that, he didn't appoint a crown prince and allowed the princes to make decisions for the country. Whoever did a good job would be able to take on great responsibilities. Guchen Shah was very familiar with the history books and knew the drawback of this. This would create factions of various sizes in the royal court. Since the Heavenly Talisman Emperor did this, it meant that he had absolute control over the royal court and had absolute confidence in his own strength. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor's cultivation base was unfathomable. Back then, when he was still a prince, he fought for the country and destroyed countless sections. There were even evil gods that bewitched the hearts of the people. Without absolute strength, it was impossible for him to seize the throne with the identity of an illegitimate son. Haha, isn't this the 19th prince who eats meat? A thunderous voice rang out, causing the ears of those who heard it to hurt. The cultivation base of the person who spoke was not to be underestimated. 10th Prince. Gu Chansha inclined his head, only to see that the prince who spoke was a head taller than him. He was clad in bronze-colored armor, and his belt seemed to be coiled around by ferocious snakes. He exuded an aura akin to a mountain, and his appearance was even more ferocious. This was the 10th Prince, Gu Chansha. A few years ago, Gu Chansha's head was injured by this 10th Prince. It took a long time for him to recover, and that was all because of Liu Baiyue's provocation. These few days, the 10th Prince even said that he wanted to cripple Qin Wentian. Now that they met, Qin Wentian knew that there would be trouble. Little 19, I heard that you've been working hard recently and have been practicing your martial arts. The 10th Prince, Gu Chansha, walked over with large strides, his aura blazing. The people in the surroundings dispersed. He was like a wolf and an eagle, exuding a soul-stirring aura. Even ordinary experts would tremble in fear when they looked at him. There were a few princes and a group of royal clan members who were watching the show with smiles on their faces. Gu Chansha stood straight and did not retreat. His opponent's aura pressure had no effect on him. If it was in the past, he would definitely be so shocked that he would retreat continuously. He might even lose his footing and fall onto the ground. But now his power was extremely great and his chi was deep, yet he did not show any signs of it. He seems to have made some achievements. The 10th Prince, Gu Chansha's expression darkened. Under the pressure of his aura, just now, Gu Chansha actually did not move at all. This was a little shocking. The other nobles who were watching also exchanged glances. Let me see how your cultivation is going. The 10th Prince, Gu Chansha, stretched out his hand, and a wave of qi was generated. His long arm broke through the air and let out an ear-piercing shriek. As his 5 fingers enveloped, the surrounding air was compressed inwards, forming a cage that made it impossible for anyone to escape. When this move was used, there was a faint smell of blood and the howling of ghosts and gods. 5 ghosts, great capture! The experts who knew their stuff shouted out. The 5 fingers were the 5 ghosts, moving and capturing, driving the air current. One strike could not only break tendons and bones, but could even tear apart a human body. It was rumored that this ultimate art was the ultimate art of the Ghost King sect. It was a spell to worship the 5 ghosts. It had been passed down for thousands of years among the people and was considered obscene. But the past dynasties could not stop it, until the Heavenly Talisman dynasty finally defeated the 5 Ghost sect. The imperial court took the Ghost King Sutra that had been passed down from the ancient times and filled up the royal library. Although the Ghost King Sutra was an evil ultimate art, the content within had its merits. The 10th Prince's foundation was the lightning/force. It was extremely fierce and had a strong yang qi. However, he combined it with the Ghost King Sutra, combining yin and yang, good and evil as one, making it easier for him to break through to the Tao realm. Gu Chansha's eyes instantly lit up like the sun and moon. He cultivated the sun and moon refining and sun and moon transformation of the sun of heaven's investiture art. His entire body had the feeling of the sun and moon in the sky. Facing this move, he was not afraid at all. He suddenly took a step forward, and his arms visibly thickened. His skin faintly had the color of bronze. Pung! The two arms collided, and both Gu Chansha and the 10th prince retreated. Heavy footprints appeared on the ground. The shockwave from their clash blew the surrounding snow away, blinding the eyes of the onlookers. What? The eyeballs of the surrounding people almost fell out. What is going on? They are actually evenly matched? The 10th prince has godly strength and is a martial arts genius. He has been through hundreds of battles and has wiped out many evil sects that were enemies of the imperial court. His lightning slash force is so strong that even the emperor praised him for using lightning to kill demons. It is only a matter of time before he steps into the Tao realm. But he can't even take down the 19th prince? The Great Spirit God technique? Mountain-moving stance? Lu Baiwa was there too. Her face was solemn and her heart was racing. The 10th prince's attack is no small matter, but it was still blocked. Gu Chensha used the mountain-moving stance of the Great Spirit God technique. Did he really activate the giant spirit bloodline? Even for the Xian dynasty imperial court, it is rare for it to appear in hundreds of years. This is nothing short of a miracle. The Xian dynasty imperial court was rumored to have the bloodline of the ancient, the Great Spirit God. But now, the bloodline was very thin and rare. Every time it appeared, it was when the Xian dynasty was flourishing. But this was secondary. Once the giant spirit bloodline was activated, through sacrifice, one could communicate with the Great Spirit God. If this news spread, the old and young of the Xian dynasty, as well as the people who believed in the Great Spirit God, would think that Gu Chansha was the Xian dynasty emperor. Now, the Xian dynasty was destroyed, but the faith of the Great Spirit God still existed. The Great Spirit God was a true God conferred in the ancient times. The heavenly talisman emperor could not remove his position and could only allow it to exist. If he were to remove it forcefully, it would cause a backlash from the gods, causing chaos in the world and damaging the fate of the country. The 10th prince's martial arts are very strong, especially his baleful aura. His combat experience is not something I can compare to. Gu Chansha calmed the power in his body. His opponent's 5 demons' great capturing technique contained 5 layers of ripping power, and the slightest bit of carelessness could result in severe injuries. If he hadn't cultivated with Long Yuyun for the past 3 days, as well as studied the second form of the solar moon transformation technique, he most likely would have been defeated. The Son of Heaven's God conferment art was a supreme technique, but it was a pity that he had not cultivated it for a year. He didn't even comprehend 1/10,000th of it. If he had 3, 5, or even 8 years of cultivation, it wouldn't be difficult for him to dominate the world. In this battle, he immediately calculated his gains and losses. If he were to fight the 10th prince to the death, he might not be able to win for sure. Moreover, the 10th prince definitely had some hidden trump cards. Chapter 21. Fighting against the 10th prince this time was a decision he had made after careful consideration. Firstly, after the news that the emperor had allowed Lu Baiwe to get close to him spread, he had become the target of public criticism. Even if he kept a low profile, there would be people who would not let him go. For example, today, he could not hide from the 10th prince's pressure. If he continued to pretend, he might really be crippled. Secondly, he was about to come of age, and it was the crucial time to confer a title. If he could show off his martial prowess, he could be conferred a good title. Thirdly, he could push the reason for his increase in strength to the bloodline of the Great Spirit God. There would be a chance to explain, and he would be of great value to them. Of course, after he showed off his strength, he could no longer pretend. It would definitely attract even more intense conspiracies and revenge, but there was no other way. He could only deal with it as it came. In short, if he did not show off his strength, he would die. If he did, there was still a chance of survival. Why not give it a try? Damn it, the 10th Prince Gu Jinsha's arms were numb. He never dreamed that the trash who usually acted like a fool would have such strength to withstand his 5 ghost capture. I have dominated the battlefield and killed hundreds of people. How can I not take down this trash? Where's my face? He was furious. His body let out a rumbling sound as he activated the slash of thunder. Gu Qinsha saw this momentum and was ready for battle. The other party had rich combat experience. He could tell that when the 5 ghost capture was activated, there was a feeling of ghosts crying and gods howling. If he had not practiced the Emperor's God sealing art for many days, his mind would have been taken away and he would have been killed by the other party. The two of them faced each other. A life and death battle was about to begin. At this moment, a voice came from afar. It was a eunuch singing, "The Emperor has arrived." Thump! Everyone knelt down, no longer in the mood to watch the show. Gu Chunsha and Gu Jinsha hurriedly knelt down and prostrated in the snow. No one was willing to be accused of disrespect at this time. A carriage came from afar. Hundreds of imperial guards rode on horses and carried swords. 49 strong men in yellow pushed a bright yellow carriage forward slowly. The carriage was lifted into the air by these strong men, gliding on the ground as if it was flying. These strong men were the yellow-turbaned strong men raised by the imperial court, imitating the divine generals of the ancient emperors. Rumor has it that the ancient Son of Heaven was accompanied by a giant with boundless strength. It was said that the giant was wearing a yellow scarf, and in the records of ancient history, it was called the Yellow Turban Strongman. After the heavenly talisman monarch ascended to the throne, he unified the 4 seas and intimidated the 100 countries. The guards of honor around him began to learn from the ancient heavenly sons. They selected a large number of grandmaster-level experts and trained them for many years to become the Yellow Turban Strongmen. This was not extravagance, but a way to nurture one's spirit with etiquette. Beside the Yellow Turban Strongman, there were palace maids carrying golden lamps and incense burners. There were 36 of them. Other than that, there were also 72 eunuchs raising flags. In the middle of the bright yellow carriage sat the number 1 expert under the heavens, the lord of the great Yong dynasty, heavenly talisman emperor. Long live the emperor! All the nobles and soldiers cheered. Get up, everyone! The heavenly talisman emperor alighted from the carriage and entered the large tent that had been set up beforehand. The princes were the first to enter, followed by the nobles and ministers. The lower-ranked officials stood outside. The tent was heated, but there was no burning charcoal. Instead, there was a fiery red bead hanging from the ceiling. It was the fire bead. The fire bead was carved from 10,000-year-old warm jade. It was full of yang qi and was in contact with the human body all year round. It could expel cold and dampness, strengthen the muscles and bones, strengthen the soul, and condense the will. This item was extremely rare, and only the imperial family could use it. Gu Chansha stood behind the princes and only felt the warm air assaulting his body. The cold qi in his bones dissipated as it massaged his body. Some of the princes glanced at him. Some were shocked, some were solemn, some were murderous, and some were deep in thought. Lu Baiwe stood on the other side. She seemed to have discovered something new, and her eyes were full of deep meaning. I have to be careful of people coming to find trouble with me later. Gu Qinsha was thinking. At this moment, the heavenly talisman emperor spoke. I'm sure all of you understand the purpose of today's hunt. Next spring, the imperial court will launch an expedition against the barbarian race. Your majesty is farsighted and the imperial court is now strong. This is the best opportunity for us to launch an expedition. Lu Chongxiao was the first to speak. This time will be different from the past. The heavenly talisman emperor waved his hand. In the past, the generals would lead the troops and attack the barbarian race from all directions. This time, I want the princes to lead their troops and surround the barbarian race. Let's see which prince is the most outstanding. What do you all think? Your subjects will obey your majesty's orders. The ministers bowed. Very good. The heavenly talisman emperor surveyed the surroundings with satisfaction. Suddenly, his gaze landed on Gu Qinsha. Little 10, did you use lightning / earlier? Your blood and qi haven't calmed down yet, and your killing intent is so thick. What are you doing? Who offended you? Father Emperor. The 10th prince, Gu Qinsha, knelt down. Your son was sparring with 19th brother. To think that 19th brother's martial arts had already reached the grandmaster level. Even I couldn't do anything to him. I think that with 19th brother's martial arts, he would probably enter the Tao realm and become the leader of the princes. 19th brother cultivated the great spirit god technique of the Xian dynasty and seemed to have activated the Titan spirit bloodline. It is said that as long as someone from the Xian dynasty could activate the Titan spirit bloodline, the Xian dynasty would prosper. I wonder if that is true. Sinister. The moment Gu Qinsha heard this, he knew that although the 10th prince looked rough and competitive, he was actually a scheming person. His words immediately pushed him into the teeth of the storm. He said that he would become the leader of the princes in the future. Something about the appearance of the great spirit god bloodline and the rise of the Xian dynasty. These were all words that hurt his heart. Father Emperor. He hurriedly knelt down. Just now, it was 10th brother who suddenly attacked. In my eyes, it was too ferocious and I couldn't resist. Your son has no intention of fighting against my brother. What are you panicking for? Heavenly Talisman Emperor wasn't angry. I was the one who incited you to cultivate the great spirit god technique. There are no weaklings among the sons of I, Gu Taxian. Also, people said that you have the bloodline of the Xian dynasty and that the remnants of the Xian dynasty would contact you. These are all lies. I believe that you can still differentiate between right and wrong. Father Emperor is wise. Gu Qinsha heaved a sigh of relief. Your son knows that the world is at peace and the people are living in peace. This is the foundation of the Xian dynasty, and it is all thanks to Father Emperor's efforts. Even if there are remnants of the Xian dynasty, they won't be able to do much. If they contact me, I will definitely capture them all and hand them over to the imperial court. I will then ask Father Emperor for an assignment to suppress the remnants of the Xian dynasty. Your son has been indebted to Father Emperor for so many years, but I haven't done anything at all. Hearing Gu Qinsha's words, the surrounding princes, dukes, and nobles were shocked. This child is indeed treacherous. He is indeed hiding his strength and biding his time to show that he is useful to the imperial court. Indeed, the remnants of the Xian dynasty have always been a thorn in the side of the imperial court. Now that this child has activated the gargantuan spiritual force, I'm afraid that many of the remnants will contact him. Once those remnants are exposed, this child will be able to seize the opportunity to obtain an assignment. Lu Chongxiao suddenly realized that he had underestimated Gu Qinsha. Very good. Heavenly Talisman, Heavenly Monarch praised. Since you have the intention to contribute to the imperial court, I will naturally grant you your wish. Also, although the remnants of the Xian dynasty aren't willing to submit to me, I don't want to kill them anymore. Back then, when I invaded the Xian dynasty, I killed too many people. For example, that Grand Preceptor Wenhong is a rare talent. If I can make use of him, it will save me a lot of trouble. 19. Listen up, and the other dukes in the imperial court as well. I can tolerate people, and so can the world. As long as it is beneficial to the imperial court, all of you can do whatever you want. Father Emperor is the true son of heaven. Gu Qinsha kowtowed repeatedly. The ancient son of heaven controls the heavenly Tao and is the closest to the heavens. Your son has been studying the ancient books and gained some insights. If that Grand Preceptor Wenhong really comes to contact me, I will definitely persuade him to work for the imperial court. Look, 19 isn't a fool. Heavenly Talisman, Heavenly Monarch then said to Lu Baiwei, pass down my decree. The 19th prince has great achievements in martial arts and is now an adult. He will be conferred the title of Duke of the Dusty Kingdom and be rewarded with a residence, 50 armored soldiers, and 300,000 gold coins. He will be in charge of handling the cleanup of the remnants of the Xian dynasty. Your son thanks father. Gu Qinsha was overjoyed. He knew that he had gambled correctly. He circulated the son of heaven's god bestowment art and imitated the bloodline of the great spirit god. Gao Ling, present. The chief stewards of the 6 palaces knelt down without a sound. I know that the Internal Affairs Department has been embezzling 19's allowance for the past few years. How audacious of you to use a slave to bully your master. After all, 19 is my son. No matter how unfavored he is, I should be the one to deal with him. Do you think you have the right to deal with him? Heavenly Talisman, Heavenly Monarch's tone turned harsh. Your Majesty is right. This is your son's mistake. Chief Steward Gao Ling said, "As for those eunuchs who embezzled 19th Prince's allowance, your son will deal with them tomorrow. This time around, your son will arrange for the various rewards in 19th Prince's residence." This conversation caused many princes and ministers to look at each other in dismay. In the past, 19th Prince was not favored at all. Today, he seemed to be suddenly recognized. This was a signal. The key point was that Gu Chansha had obtained the task of appeasing the remnants of Xian dynasty. This was equivalent to obtaining the qualifications to establish his own power. In the future, he would be able to recruit aides and do great things. Many princes were secretly on guard. It seemed like there would be another competitor in the future. "Father, your son has something to say." 10th Prince Gu Jinsha took 2 steps forward and knelt down. "Speak." Heavenly Talisman, Heavenly Monarch, seemed to be in a good mood today. "Your son and 19th brother's martial arts match has yet to be decided. Why don't we have another match in the imperial carriage?" 10th Prince Gu Jinsha's expression was cold and murderous. "Today is father's hunt. 19th brother and I will have a martial arts match to liven things up." He knew that the Heavenly Talisman, Heavenly Monarch, was a martial artist and liked it when the princes competed with each other. "There is no need for a martial arts match. I will be conferred the title of 19th Prince today. You are probably not convinced in your hearts. 10th Prince, you have the highest cultivation out of all the princes other than the older princes. You have also led troops to fight the barbarians and killed several barbarian generals." The Heavenly Talisman, Heavenly Monarch stood up. "Dashi Marquis has captured many barbarian experts and brought them here today. They have been kept in the mountains, and today will be a test of your combat skills. Princes cannot kill each other in a match, but you can kill these barbarian experts. Do you understand? If you want to gain experience, you need to see blood. Being benevolent is only for humans. These barbarians believe in wild beasts and demons, eating humans alive. You must eliminate all evil. Your son will obey." Chapter 22. Gu Chunsha sized up the place. Actually, not all the princes were here. The crown, second, and third princes weren't here. They were the 3 princes who had stepped into Dao Realm. Crown Prince Gu Hongsha guarded the ocean and didn't return to the capital. There are thousands of islands and many people outside. The cultivation sects kept their eyes on the continent, so they needed strong people to guard it. Second Prince Gu Xinsha headed further to draw a map of the endless land. Third Prince Gafasha defended the border and fought with the barbarian wolves. The 3 of them were all princes: Prince Hung, Prince Xian, and Prince Fan. Apart from them, the 7th prince was the most important. 7th Prince Gafasha was the queen's son and was a direct descendant. Based on the rules, he was the crown prince. But since Heaven Talisman Emperor didn't appoint a crown prince, he didn't have the right to do so. However, out of all the princes, his position was the most important. This was because his mother was the queen. The queen's surname was Fa, and the legalist came from the medieval era. A saint, Fatsi, was born and made laws for humans. Law was the support of etiquette. No matter when, the legalists would always be an orthodox sect. They had many talents, and when the world was in chaos, they would come out to help the Son of Heaven establish order. The reason why Heaven Talisman Emperor was able to wipe out hundreds of countries and unify the world was because he borrowed the strength of the legalists. The direct descendant always had an advantage. Gafasha was given the title of Law Prince when he was born and surpassed all the other princes. Out of all the princes, only 4 had been given the title of prince. They were the 3 older princes and Gafasha. The 4th prince, the 5th prince, and the 6th prince were older than the 7th prince, Gafasa, but they were only dukes. Even if the 10th prince was brave and made contributions, he still wasn't given the title of prince. He was now Duke of Zhan. Bring the barbarian over. Heaven Talisman Emperor gave the order. Kong, Kong, Kong. A beast-like roar rang out. Iron cages as thick as an arm were pushed out by the soldiers. There were dozens of them, and each cage contained a person. These people wore beast skins and were muscular. They gave off a savage and bloodthirsty aura. They were exactly the same as humans, walking upright. However, their temperaments differed greatly. Humans were civilized and polite, their auras gentle, while they were cruel and vicious, uncivilized. What a strong evil aura! Guqinsha had also seen the captive barbarians before, but at that time, he did not have a deep understanding of the Qi dynamic and was ignorant of it. But now, his spirit was sharp, and he could see down to the smallest detail. Only then did he realize how terrifying these barbarians were. There are more than 100 barbarians here, and they are all devout believers of the evil god. They can obtain power through sacrifice. The heavenly talisman Immortal Emperor continued. These beasts have high statuses. They are the barbarian generals. Each of them has killed hundreds of humans. The evil god of the barbarian race loves human blood, sacrifices the most. If the barbarian race captures humans and sacrifices them, they would be able to obtain great strength. As for other beasts, the effect would be much weaker, some might not even be sensed. You must understand this point. The barbarian race is the mortal enemy of humanity. There is no need to show mercy to them. Yes, all the princes understood. Guqinsha had been familiarizing himself with the sacrificial rites in the ancient book these days. He knew that in order to obtain power by offering sacrifices to the demon god, one must first believe in the demon god. But there was no need to offer sacrifices to the heavens. The demon god was in existence with emotions, joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. The heavenly Tao didn't. Once one believed in the demon god, they would be assimilated by the demon god and wouldn't be able to go against his orders. Even if the demon god wanted them to die, they could only die quickly. This was like handing their fate to others. The key was that the power obtained from offering sacrifices to the demon god wasn't pure, and there were many injuries. For example, the barbarian wolves of the barbarian race believed in the wolf god. If they killed a tiger and sacrificed it, they definitely wouldn't be able to obtain all of the tiger's power. They would only be able to obtain a strand, or even none. They had to sacrifice thousands of times before they could obtain a tiny bit. Just like how the heavenly Tao was impartial, the more one sacrificed, the more one would obtain. Also, the evil god loved human souls the most. This was because human souls were intelligent, bright, and warm, making the evil god comfortable. This was why the barbarian race tried all ways to capture humans for blood sacrifice. This created an irreconcilable conflict. As for what a god was, Guqinsha knew. It was just someone with great strength. When one's Tao realm reached a high enough level, they could summon the wind and rain, open their grotto heavens, and create things from nothing. In the imperial court, even the most benevolent scholars would only have one word for the barbarian race, and that was to kill. Father is right. When the ancient sages created the word barbarian, it was E at the top and worm at the bottom. It's just a worm. Guqinsha decided not to pretend anymore. He had already figured out the emperor's thoughts. He wanted to be the emperor of all times, and as long as he was capable, he would be rewarded. I am willing to be the first to kill the barbarian race. Hearing his words, the 18th prince, Guqinsha, had a bitter taste in his heart. This kid is actually so cunning. He was not much different from Guqinsha. He was about to come of age, and he would also be rewarded. Although the imperial court had sent news that he would be conferred the title of duke, his title would only be the same as Guqinsha's. At this moment, he was filled with jealousy. It was difficult for others to obtain a title, but as the son of the emperor, it was much easier. Seems like 19 is good at studying, but this time, the barbarian race will not be killed first. The heavenly talisman emperor ordered, "Release these barbarians into the forest and let them escape. The princes will then enter the mountain to hunt him down. Whoever gets the most heads will be rewarded." As he spoke, the eunuch brought out a plate. On the plate, there was a crystal bottle, and in the bottle, there was a golden medicinal pill that shone brightly. 100 Tribulations Golden Pill. Many of the officials stared at the golden pill, drooling over it. Even Liu Baiwei couldn't resist it. The 100 Tribulations Golden Pill is made from the 9 heavens lightning tribulations, with the essence of gold crystals and thousands of spiritual herbs. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor sighed. This is the 100 Tribulations Tao Sect's top-grade spiritual pill, and it takes tens of years for a Tao realm expert to concoct it. Thinking back, the 100 Tribulations Tao Sect even helped me annihilate the Five Ghost Sect. Your Majesty, the 100 Tribulations Tao Sect rebelled against the Imperial Court, and they even dared to assassinate an official of the Imperial Court. The Emperor was angered, and they deserved it. Duke Baisie's voice was cold. This is all in the past. There's no need to talk about it anymore. These years, I have annihilated countless sects and orthodoxies, both righteous and evil, all for the sake of peace. You princes must remember this. The sects of the pugilistic world and the celestial sects are the source of chaos. These people are different from the Xian dynasty. The people of the Xian dynasty know how to govern a country, but the celestial sects don't know the rules of the common people, and they refuse to obey the imperial court. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor's tone turned sharp. Now, there are many sects that were annihilated by the imperial court, and they have fled to the seas, wanting to take revenge. I know that you princes are recruiting talents, and as long as you are capable, you can recruit them. Who knows? There might be people with evil intentions who want to use your influence to bring chaos to the imperial court. When you go back, you must investigate this and be careful with your people. If you are exposed, even I can't protect you. These words were too harsh. All the princes knelt down again. We will obey Emperor Father's teachings. Release those barbarians. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor waved his hand. In an instant, some soldiers rushed forward and used metal chains to pull the cages open. The barbarians roared and wanted to pounce forward, but when they saw the ferocious soldiers, they felt a sense of fear. Clearly, they had suffered quite a bit along the way. Ayo, 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 ayo. Finally, one of the barbarians tore off his beast hide, revealing his muscular body. There was a malevolent-looking wolf head embroidered on his chest, and the stench of blood grew even stronger. He grabbed onto the bars of the cages, and with a violent tug, he actually managed to tear them apart. Grabbing a metal rod as a weapon, he sprinted towards the central camp. The barbarians were intelligent. This barbarian general knew that the Heavenly Talisman Emperor was definitely the leader. Hence, he decided to fight like a cornered beast, wanting to assassinate the imperial court. This barbarian was extremely tall, and when he charged over, it was as though even an army of 10,000 men and horses wouldn't be able to stop him. However, none of the princes and ministers present showed any signs of panic, and no one called for protection. Instead, a mocking expression appeared on their faces. Your Majesty, allow me to embarrass myself. Lu Chongxiao bowed. That's fine. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor allowed. Lu Chongxiao stretched out his palm, and all of a sudden, the barbarian generals that were charging overfroze, like flies frozen in amber. A formless mass of air enveloped them, and they were slowly lifted into the air. Go! The barbarian generals were lifted into the air, and suddenly, they shot into the distant forest like shooting stars, falling from the sky and landing miserably on the snowy ground. Not bad. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor praised. Chongxiao, your divine firmament devil astral chi has improved by quite a bit. This humble subject's cultivation base is all thanks to your Majesty's guidance. Lu Chongxiao knelt down. Your Majesty's cultivation base is the one that can conquer heaven and earth, shining as brightly as the sun and moon, having the same lifespan as heaven and earth, impervious to all tribulations. Even the ancient heavenly sons of heaven can't compare to you. Haha, shining as brightly as the sun and moon, having the same lifespan as heaven and earth, impervious to all tribulations. How can it be so easy? Even gods can't avoid the 5 signs of decline. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor laughed. But your compliment comes from the bottom of your heart. I'm very pleased. Ayo, ayo, ayo. As the Heavenly Talisman Emperor spoke, the barbarians all fled into the forest, not daring to attack. All of you go. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor waved his hand. Yes. The princes all stood up, using their movement techniques and flying away. Gafasha, why aren't you moving? The Heavenly Talisman Emperor saw that Glyph was still standing there, and he couldn't help but ask. Glyph knelt down. I've already reached the Tao realm. If I attack, I'm afraid my brothers won't be able to perform well in front of Father, so I won't fight for the 100 Tribulations Golden Pill. Glyph was the Empress' son. Although he wasn't the crown prince, he was still the crown prince. He had a high status, and deep in his heart, he had his own pride. He wasn't willing to fight with the other princes for food. That's good. Since you aren't willing, then forget it. How could the Heavenly Talisman Emperor not understand his son's arrogance? But this was all within reason. I'm afraid. Glyph retreated to the side. Gao Ling, bring a chair for little Seven to sit on. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor ordered. The surrounding nobles and officials nodded. From this small action, they could tell that the seventh prince was still deeply loved. Bai Wei, you go too. Let me see your martial arts. Don't be afraid. If you are bold, not only will you get the 100 Tribulations Golden Pill, but you will also be heavily rewarded. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor looked at Lu Baiwei. Chapter 23. Your Majesty, my daughter is stubborn. I'm afraid it's inappropriate for her to fight with the princes. Is it? Lu Chongxiao was a little uneasy. I like Baiyue's character. So what if they are princes? I think they are not as good as Baiwei. If she does well in the future and improves her martial arts, I will make her a princess. It's not impossible for her to have a higher rank than you. The officials could tell that the Heavenly Talisman Emperor doted on Lu Baiwei. The barbarian general fled into the forest, and the princes chased after him. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor and the nobles watched the chase. They could immediately tell how good the princes were. Among them, Lu Baiwei took the lead. She moved as fast as a cloud of dust. In just a few flashes, she had caught up with a barbarian general who was lagging behind. The general was shocked. His ferocious aura flared up, and he clawed at Lu Baiwei, trying to tear her apart. However, Lu Baiwei did not dodge. Instead, he rammed into the barbarian general, and the barbarian general was smashed into a bloody mess in midair. The eyes of many of the nobles shone brightly. Lu Baiwei's martial arts are terrifying. How can Lu Baiwei's martial arts be so powerful? Look at her strength. No grandmaster can match up to her. Her movement technique is also perfect, and it's in line with the heavenly Tao. She's also ruthless when it comes to killing. That's right. With such martial arts, she is already at the peak of the grandmaster level. She also seems to have gained Qi sense. I think she could really enter the Tao state. Look, she killed another barbarian general. This time, the emperor arranged for the princes to hunt. Is she going to be the champion? Even the princes are not as good as her. What about the 19th prince? He seems to be doing well. As Lu Baiwei showed off her skills, Gu Chensha caught up with the barbarian general and tried to kill him. If he succeeded, it would be his first kill. At least these barbarians looked no different from humans. The barbarian general that Gu Chensha had caught up to had tattoos all over his body. There were evil snakes coiling around his body, and there was also a heavenly wolf howling at the moon. His skin was as rough as a wild boar in the mountains, and it was difficult for sabers and axes to cut through his skin. His ferocious eyes radiated in all directions, and he opened his bloody mouth. He was also a revered martial master, and his martial art style was barbaric, rough, and carried an ancient aura. This was the characteristic of the barbarian race's martial arts. It was wild, cruel, and bloody. There was no human aura in the violence. It was purely the law of the jungle of ancient beasts. River turning style. Gu Chensha dodged the attack and delivered a few palm strikes. The palm shadows seemed to be stirring up a river, and huge waves surged into the sky. In an instant, they enveloped the berserker within layers of palm shadows. The giant spirit divine palm of the giant spirit divine art had 3 stances: moving mountains, overturning rivers, and overturning seas. The river-turning technique was even more powerful. He sent out a total of 99 palm strikes. There was no way the barbarian general could block the attacks. There were at least 40 to 50 palm strikes that broke through his defense and hit his vital parts. Pitter-patter. The barbarian general's bones and meridians were all shattered, and he fell limply onto the snowy ground. Finally, he lost his life force and was killed on the spot. The moment he killed the barbarian general, Gu Chansha felt his spirit move slightly. It was a feeling that couldn't be experienced by killing beasts. The barbarian general was also a human. He had wisdom and the ability to change the world. The feeling of killing people and beasts was completely different. In the forest, many princes were fighting. They all wanted to kill as many barbarians as possible and get the 100 Tribulation Golden Pill. This golden pill could save at least 10 years of cultivation. It could increase one's strength and foundation to step into the Tao realm. If this golden pill appeared in the Jianghu, it would immediately set off a storm of blood. Many martial artists would lose their lives because of it. However, golden pills were common in the royal family. There was no force in the world that could compare to the great Yonko court. The 19th prince has mastered the river-turning technique. The expressions of the princes and nobles changed again. Moving mountain, overturning river, and overturning sea of the giant spirit palm all require a tremendous amount of physical strength to execute. In the past, the number of martial arts grandmasters in the royal family of Xian dynasty who could execute the overturning river 99 times in a row was very few. The great spirit god's palms were powerful, but they consumed a lot of energy. Every punch, palm, and kick could exhaust a martial arts master. A martial arts grandmaster could at most hit dozens of times. It was rare to find someone like Gu Chansha who could attack 99 times and still be calm. Your Majesty, it seems that the 19th prince has really activated the bloodline of the great spirit god. He will be very useful in the future. Lu Chengxiao probed. If the 19th prince can communicate with the great spirit god, Your Majesty can use it to find the coordinates of the great spirit god's celestial realm in the space-time turbulence. Then, you can seal him and prevent him from creating chaos. This way, the remnants of the Xian dynasty will fall and the faith of the great spirit god will dissipate among the people. It is good that you can say such things. It seems that you're beginning to understand the esoteric of the gods, and your cultivation is getting deeper. Celestial Talisman Emperor praised, I have recently sent 99% of my Yuan Shun into the space-time turbulence to find the lair of the great Mahakasyapa. As long as we can injure this god, we can destroy the barbarians once spring comes. We will be able to wipe out the barbarians and wipe out the threat of the border for generations. We will be able to accomplish something that not even the ancient emperors could achieve. Your Majesty's art of divine massacre has finally reached the highest level? Lu Chengxiao knelt immediately. Does that mean that Your Majesty's Yuan Shun has already gone to the lair of the great Mahakasyapa? That's right. Celestial Talisman Emperor glanced around, seeing the other princes and dukes kneeling together with Lu Chengxiao. Since I am doing my best to slay the gods, there will naturally be people with malicious intents who would try to sabotage my plans. During this winter and next spring, all of you have to be careful. Don't allow any chaos to break out in the country. Get the governors and generals to patrol the areas and reorganize the troops stationed there. Yes, I am only reminding everyone here. Everyone, get up and watch the methods of the princes. The Celestial Talisman Emperor turned his gaze into the distance. Although he exuded an imposing aura, 99% of his psyche was focused on controlling something in the air, causing him to be unable to sense the minute changes in Gu Chencha's body. If not, even though Gu Chansha had mastered the solar moon transformation art and could perfectly conceal his aura, it would still be extremely difficult for him to hide from this emperor. The slaughter in the forest continued without end. Just as Gu Chansha killed a barbarian, he heard screams of agony. The princes were all killed. Lu Baiyu's martial arts are indeed powerful. She has already killed 5 barbarian generals. Number 10, number 18, number 14, number 8, number 9, and number 13 have each killed 2 or 3. Gu Chansha gazed into the distance. Each of the princes displayed their true abilities, trying their best to kill as many barbarian generals as possible and obtain the 100 Tribulations golden core. Even the princes coveted this core. At this moment, Gu Chansha finally witnessed the true prowess of these princes. Every barbarian general had the cultivation of an evolved Jing master. Moreover, they were cruel and savage, and had rich combat experience. Even an evolved Jing master might not be able to defeat them. In the pugilistic world, if two evolved Jing masters of the same level fought, it would take at least a few hundred moves to determine the victor. It was definitely not that easy to kill an opponent of the same level. Moreover, the princes were all evolved Jing masters. They killed barbarian generals of the same level as if they were cutting melons and vegetables. For example, the 18th prince, Gu Hongsha, cultivated the Dragon King force. When he attacked, there was a soul-stirring dragon roar. His punches were as powerful as a rainbow. When he first encountered a barbarian general, he broke his opponent's chest within a few breaths and over 10 moves. However, the 10th prince, Gu Zhengsha, was obviously more skillful. When he ran, his body rumbled like thunder. He caught up with the barbarian general and beheaded him within 3 moves. Only when he met with 3 to 5 barbarian generals fighting back did he stop the attack. In this forest, there were hundreds of barbarian generals. Each of the princes had to deal with 7 to 8 of them, or even more. No matter how strong a evolved Jing master was, he would not be able to escape if he was besieged by 7 to 8 evolved Jing masters. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, let alone 10 hands. In the beginning, the princes were very powerful and killed one after another. However, as the barbarian generals knew that they would die if they tried to escape, they became desperate. They gathered in groups of 3 to 5 and surrounded the princes. In terms of numbers, the barbarian generals definitely had the upper hand, putting a lot of pressure on the princes. This was also on purpose by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. How could he let the princes get the 100 Tribulations golden pill so easily? This was also a real combat classroom. After a few more rounds of training, one would grow rapidly. The great Yonko imperial family was very strict with the princes. As a result, all the princes had unique skills. In addition to the various resources of the imperial family, they were far better than the experts of the Jianghu. Gu Chensha wanted to see how strong Liu Baiyue and the other princes were, but he found himself surrounded. A total of 6 barbarian generals formed a formation and surrounded him. The position under their feet was similar to the 6-direction formation. They forced their way over and narrowed the encirclement. This was a killing formation that evolved from a large number of troops fighting on the battlefield. It was chaos on the battlefield when hundreds of thousands of people collided with each other. In this chaos, small troops would join forces to form a formation that could both attack and defend. This greatly increased the chances of survival and killing the enemy. However, this barbarian formation was not the 6-direction formation. It was the 6-beast formation. It was derived from the combination of tigers, wolves, leopards, lions, and jackals. The 6 barbarian generals' footwork was exquisite. Their auras were like iron chains, making Gu Qinsha feel like he couldn't move. No matter which direction he tried to break through, he would be attacked by the 6 of them. If I use the sun and moon refining and sun and moon transformation, it won't be difficult to defeat the 6 barbarian tribes. However, it will be difficult to use the Great Spirit God technique. But if I use the sun and moon refining and sun and moon transformation in front of the nobles, I won't be able to hide it. I can't expose it. Father is a knowledgeable man. He will definitely find out the origin of my martial arts. At that time, it will be troublesome. Gu Qinsha understood his situation. Kill. When the 6 barbarian generals saw that Gu Qinsha was surrounded and locked down by the aura, they immediately exploded with a strong killing intent. The 6 of them attacked at the same time. Palm, fist, finger, leg, all kinds of attacks were aimed at every vital part of his body. Chapter 24. This was the terrifying part of this technique. If one cultivated it to the highest level and activated it, One strength would cut through the air and form a force field within 10 steps. Just a strong wind and air explosion would be enough to break weapons and tear people apart. However, to cultivate this technique to such a level, one had to be in the Tao realm. Luckily, Guchen's strength was extraordinary. Although he could not spread the ocean reversal technique to 10 steps, he could still cover 2 to 3 steps. His body spun like a top, and the air waves made the 6 barbarian generals lose their balance. Their attacks started to show flaws. Kill! He roared and charged towards one of the barbarian generals. The barbarian general should have retreated at this time, but his eyes were bloodshot. He roared like a wild beast and took a deep breath. His body became much bigger, like a giant bear. His skin was torn apart by his muscles, dripping with blood. He looked even more ferocious. No one knew what secret method he had used to increase his combat power, but he blocked Gu Chensha and forced him back to the center of the formation. This was a desperate move. The barbarian general knew that he was going to die, so he fought with his life on the line. As long as he could kill one prince, it would be worth it even if all of them died. Damn it, the barbarian general is fighting with his life. Gu Chensha's eyesight had improved, and he knew that this technique was extremely powerful. Although it would shorten one's lifespan, decrease one's combat power, break one's meridians, and even become a cripple, it could double one's power in a short period of time. There is a similar technique in the Great Spirit God technique to stimulate the body. The barbarian general grabbed with both hands, and the shadow of his claws swept across the sky. It actually created a whirlpool that sucked people in. Gu Chensha felt like he was being restrained, and a sense of danger welled up in his heart. He knew that if he retreated, he would fall back into the encirclement and die. His body suddenly shrunk, and the gaps between his bones disappeared. Instantly, he turned into a 3-foot child and squeezed out of the claw shadow. This is the giant spirit muster technique from the Great Spirit God technique. He can actually use it? Lu Chongxiao was actually paying close attention to Gu Chensha's movements and was shocked to see him escape the encirclement. The giant spirit, as the name suggested, was tall and mighty, and the mustard seed was very small. The giant spirit mustard seed technique was the Great Spirit God technique. One could cultivate it to the point where it could turn from big to small, extreme yang to yin. One needed to be at least at the first transformation of Tao realm to barely be able to use it. Of course, Gu Chensha's giant spirit mustard seed technique was far from perfect. He could only shrink his bones to the size of a 3-foot child. If one truly cultivated it to perfection, a burly man would be able to crawl out of a hole the size of a fist. Normally, Gu Chensha wouldn't be able to use it even with his current strength. However, in that moment of life and death, his potential was stimulated, and he was able to perform martial arts that he normally couldn't do. This was the tempering between life and death. The opportunity to escape the encirclement could not be missed. Once lost, it would not come again. He crouched down and swayed like a large snake. His hands formed hooks, and he struck out with the soaring snake riding mist from the giant spirit claw. This move was very strange. The whole person was crouching on the ground. The soaring serpent was of the earth attribute. It hid in the dust and suddenly attacked. The legs of the barbarian general who had just activated the secret technique were broken. The formation was immediately broken. The 5 barbarian generals didn't expect that the sure kill formation would be broken. Their fists hit nothing but air. Their powers collided with each other, causing their bodies to become unstable. Good chance. Gu Chensha's mind was blessed. Any random move he made could capture the opportunity. His mind was like the sun and moon hanging in the sky, roaming the world. In the world, there was nothing it couldn't see and nothing it couldn't see. Although his movements were from the Great Spirit God technique, his soul was from the sun of heaven sealing God technique sun and moon refining and sun and moon transformation. When this technique was activated, any flaws would be seen clearly. Immediately, he grabbed onto the weakness of the 5 barbarian generals. He turned his palm into a finger and sent it out. It was like starlight breaking through the fog. His 5 fingers hit 5 death acupuncture points. Put on, put on. The 5 barbarian generals all fell to the ground. They were not breathing and were not injured at all. The giant spirit finger technique had 5 leaves. The great spirit god technique had palm arts, body arts, leg arts, finger arts, claw arts, and so on. Otherwise, it wouldn't have become a national martial art. Even a genius would need 30 to 50 years of hard work to master the martial arts in this technique. However, he could use it freely after only half a year of practice. This was all thanks to the son of heaven-sealing god technique that opened up his wisdom. Any martial arts in the world, in his eyes, had no secrets. This time, 6 barbarian generals died in his hands. So far, he had 7 heads. After breaking this formation, in this life and death situation, my martial arts cultivation seems to have improved a little. This is real combat. I need more experience to be reborn and my soul be baptized. The pressure on Gu Qinsha lessened. He looked around the battlefield to see if he could get the first place and get the 100 Tribulations golden pill. Of course, his chance was not big. Even if he fought with all his strength, he could not get it. Otherwise, a person who had just started practicing martial arts could defeat many princes and get the first place. Today, he could show his strength and get the emperor's favor. He had already gained something. Looks like Liu Baiwei got the first place. After looking around a little, he could see the situation of the scene. Liu Baiwei seemed to be possessed by ghosts and gods. She shuttled back and forth. Whether it was a barbarian general alone or a group of barbarian generals, they could not stop her at all. She played it down, and her punches and kicks often hit from unimaginable angles, making it impossible to defend. Gu Qinsha saw that every time she attacked, her whole body would spin rapidly, causing a slight buzzing sound to come from all over her body. This made the punches have an unparalleled lethality. Moreover, when facing her, the barbarian general's movements were slow, as if they were affected by her spirit and aura, causing them to only be able to hit with 30% of their strength. I wonder what Liu Baiwei's martial arts aura is. I can only feel it when I fight her to the death. Gu Qinsha had already reached Grandmaster realm, and he had a deep understanding of martial arts aura. Especially after practicing with Long Yuyun for 3 days, he knew that when martial arts reached a high realm, one would pay the most attention to one's spirit and aura. As long as one spirit locked onto the opponent would feel like a tiger, leopard, wolf, mountain, river, demon, thunder, meteor. This kind of martial arts aura could suppress the opponent's spirit and cause them to be restricted. Liu Baiwei hadn't stepped in a Dao realm, but her fist strength was actually no weaker than Long Yuyun's. Her movements were graceful and elegant, and it was obvious that she was better than most of the princes. The princes were jealous, but they knew that the emperor doted on this girl. So who dared to offend her? Whoosh! Just as Gu Qinsha was observing the surroundings, a barbarian general jumped out from the deep forest and pounced at him. He flicked and hit the barbarian general's heart. The hidden energy seeped into his heart, causing it to split into pieces. The barbarian general slumped down like mud. How dare you? The thunderous roar caused Gu Qinsha's head to buzz. A person chased after the barbarian general. When he saw that Gu Qinsha had killed the general, he was furious. He stretched out his palm and pressed forwards. 10th Prince. Gu Qinsha saw clearly that it was the 10th Prince, Gu Qinsha, who had a conflict with him. Gu Qinsha, you actually dare to snatch the barbarian general that I injured. It seems like you really think that you can do whatever you want just because you have some martial arts. I was careless just now and only used 30% of my strength. Now, taste my 9 heavens lightning. The 10th Prince, Gu Qinsha's body was shaking like thunder. The slash of thunder had reached its limit. As he ran, the airflow around him was driven and exploded. He pushed with his palms, and yin and yang intertwined. His body was like a ghost. His movement technique was the phantom shadow of the Ghost King scripture. The law of strength was the lightning slash. Lightning was originally the power to destroy evil and was the bane of ghosts and gods. There was a risk of chi deviation when these 2 martial arts were practiced together. However, Gu Qinsha used lightning to control ghosts and gods. Yin and yang complemented each other, combining good and evil, thus obtaining the perfect exorcism technique. He had just suffered a small loss and lost face in front of many nobles. He needed to get back at them. Otherwise, his prestige would be lowered and it would be difficult for him to do his job. With this move, Gu Chansha seemed to see the scenery in front of him change. The sky was filled with thunder and lightning. A lightning giant pointed at the sky and stepped on the ground. It rolled over and took away one's mind. Then he felt the world spin and he almost lost consciousness. This is the martial ways aura. 10th Prince has used his true strength. Fortunately, Gu Chansha had practiced the Emperor's god-sealing art. He recovered in an instant. The depths of his mind were like the sun in the clear sky, burning with fire and flowing gold. The next moment, it was like the moon in the sky, cold and clear. The sun and the moon alternated, forming a boundless world. No martial ways spirit or aura could affect his mind. When the Emperor conferred titles to the gods, what kind of aura and danger was that? How could he be shocked by a mere martial ways aura? In fact, Gu Chansha had only scratched the surface. He was far from comprehending the true meaning of the Emperor. Otherwise, if he released his martial ways aura, the 10th Prince would have long knelt down and not dared to move. In an instant, Gu Chansha recovered. He didn't dodge and fought with force. The sun and moon transformation of the Emperor's god-sealing art activated the Great Spirit God technique. When he grabbed with both hands, it gave off the feeling of raging waves beating against the shore. The first 3 moves of the giant spiritual force, moving mountain, overturning river, and overturning sea. Boom! When the 2 moves collided, Gu Chansha's chi and blood were unstable. He felt his bones and tendons go numb as if he had been struck by lightning. He knew that he had been hit by the hidden force of the thunder/force. However, the other party wasn't much better. The 10th Prince, Gu Chansha, grunted and retreated. His body leaned against a big tree, and the big tree was knocked into, sending sawdust flying. This time, it was the 10th Prince's full strength, and both sides were injured. Lu Chongxiao saw it clearly from afar. He wanted to stop it, but after seeing the heavenly talisman Emperor's expression, he didn't move. He didn't expect that the 10th Prince's full strength couldn't take down the stupid prince, Gu Chansha. From today onwards, who would dare to say that Gu Chansha was stupid? Your Majesty, the 10th Prince and the 19th Prince are fighting. Should I? Lu Chongxiao began. Chapter 25. Then, who do you think is stronger? Heaven Talisman Emperor asked. Prince 19's potential is limitless. Your Majesty's eyes are really sharp. I think the 10th Prince is about to break through to Tao realm. There's a really strong power hiding in his body like a lightning dragon. Most of his power is suppressing and digesting this lightning dragon. Otherwise, Prince 19 might have suffered today. Lu Chongxiao looked closely, and he was really tactful. He didn't say who was stronger or weaker. Little 10 is too impatient. The bloodline, the lightning dragon staff, isn't easy to refine, and he might be invaded by the lightning dragon. Heaven Talisman Emperor seemed to know everything. Perhaps the 10th Prince wanted to use this to sharpen his will and overcome the erosion of the Thunder Dragon to improve his martial arts state. He is the blood of His Majesty. So naturally, he inherited the great temperament of His Majesty that suppressed the gods. Lu Chongxiao answered hurriedly. Ha ha! Chongxiao, you're getting better and better at sucking up. Heaven Talisman Emperor laughed. It seems like Baiwei is better than my son. The 100 Tribulation Golden Pill is going to be hers. I'm afraid. 7th Highness is being humble and didn't attack. If he attacked, Baiwei would have lost. Lu Chongxiao was terrified. Little 7, don't you agree? Heaven Talisman Emperor asked. I'm just at a higher realm. Baiwei's future achievements won't be any lower than mine. 7th Prince Gu Fascia smiled humbly. How would I dare to compete with 7th Highness? Lu Chongxiao shook his head. 7th Highness has cultivated the Samadhi True Fire for 8 years and is just 1 step away from the 9 transformation glass body. My daughter is like mud and clouds compared to him. Enough. Heaven Talisman Emperor waved his hands. I know Bayue's potential better than all of you. It seems like little 19 and little 10 have no chance of getting first. Tell them to stop and come see me. What's the point of fighting in front of so many nobles? Yes. Lu Chongxiao suddenly attacked. Gu Chunsha and Gu Jinsha, who were adjusting their breathing and preparing to fight again, were immediately enveloped by an invisible force. They floated up and landed outside the tent. This is the 7th transformation of Dao Realm, levitating sky. Using your own stellar energy to wrap around your body, you can glide and stand in the air. Gu Qinshan knew that his fight with Old Ten would definitely be stopped. At the Dao Realm 7th transformation, one could cover themselves and others. The Xiantian energy could be used freely and could even turn into blades, swords, and hands to strike through the air. Father. As soon as he got out of the tent, the airflow surrounding him dissipated. He prostrated himself on the ground and said, I didn't mean to fight with 10th brother. However, fighting with my brother in public is a violation of etiquette. I hope that Imperial Father will punish me. He understood the personality of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. Regardless of whether he was right or wrong, he would admit his guilt first. In reality, any powerful monarch would not like his subjects to argue with him. Imperial Father, I was wrong too. When the 10th prince saw that Gu Chansha was faster than the others, he hurriedly knelt down. Although he looked rough and had an explosive personality, he was also a person who knew when to be tough and when to give in. It's good that you know your mistake. But this time you attacked first. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor's tone was really calm. Little 19 fought to protect himself. I saw it clearly. Imperial Father is right. Little 19, it is my fault. I apologize to you. The 10th prince apologized right away. It is also my fault. I didn't manage our relationship well and made 10th brother angry. Gu Qinsha returned the bow. The two of them looked at each other and then moved away. The 10th prince's eyes were filled with killing intent, while Gu Qinsha was wary. He couldn't show any killing intent, as he wouldn't be able to hide it from the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. I won't punish you this time. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor said, Stand to the side and watch the battle. Gu Qinsha and the 10th prince stood to the side and didn't dare to say anything. But everyone knew that the two of them had a deep grudge with each other. However, there were also some ministers who looked at Gu Chansha in a different light. At the very least, he had been conferred the title of Duke, opened a government office, and had the authority to run errands. Void Law Incantation, Grand Heavenly Dragon. At this moment, the sound of incantation echoed in the air. Gu Qinsha's spirit jolted as he looked over. He discovered that Lu Baiyue's body was filled with a kind of holy influence. She moved as though she was in a parallel space. She walked slowly, and everywhere she went, the barbarian generals fell one after another. Even the princes were forced to retreat. What kind of technique is this? The 18th prince Gu Hongsha, the 14th prince Gu Yunsha, and the other princes were shocked. Void Grand Luo Art. It seems like Baiwei obtained some of the ancient sun of heaven's will. My divination is correct. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor said, This sinner deserves death. Lu Chongxiao quickly knelt down, trembling in fear. What are you afraid of? Looks like Baiwei didn't tell you. This is the location of the ancient sun of heaven's will. The pure maiden is the queen of emptiness. Hence, I imparted the pure maiden scripture to Baiwei to see if she could obtain this opportunity. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor stretched out his hand. Get up, there's no need to be afraid. I don't know how to repay your majesty's kindness to the Lu family. Lu Chongxiao climbed up and his forehead was covered in sweat. While they were talking, the number of barbarian generals in the forest had decreased rapidly. With Lu Baiyue's killing speed, it was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. Many princes had also displayed their unique skills, hoping to surpass Lu Baiwei. After all, this 100 Tribulation Golden Pill was too tempting. As expected, there are many hidden talents among the princes. Some of them haven't shown their true strength. Gu Qinsha was watching carefully. He didn't have high hopes for this 100 Tribulation Golden Pill. Even if he could get it, there was no need for him to do such a thing. Moreover, Even if he went all out, he wouldn't be able to beat Lu Baiwe. Who knew what kind of fortuitous encounter Lu Baiwe had? She wasn't a Dao realm, but she had Dao realm strength. There was a shocking amount of energy hidden in her body. Ayo, ayo. Just at that moment, a cruel aura and roar spread over. The smell of blood spread out. Something weird happened in the forest. After Lu Baiwe's display of power, the princes slowly gained the upper hand. They forced all the barbarian generals into a small circle, and they were like trapped beasts. More than 30 barbarian generals stood in a circle, watching the princes and Lu Baiwe walking slowly towards them. They howled like wild beasts, and one of the generals howled at the sky while chanting a spell. Vaguely, a mysterious and dangerous aura spread out from the sky. The princes felt the danger and stopped in their tracks. Don't move. These barbarians are sacrificing. Gu Hongsha roared and retreated. Apart from Lu Baiwe, all the princes started to retreat. As expected, the barbarian who was chanting suddenly knelt down like he was worshipping something. The other barbarians stabbed their chests and blood splattered. Their hearts were dug out by themselves. Noble God, we are sacrificing ourselves and offering our souls. God, send down your power to kill these humans. All the barbarians chanted and fell to the ground. Meanwhile, the remaining barbarian's body began to shine with a blood-red light, and a circle of blood-red light appeared behind his head. The stench of blood filled the air, and even the pure white snow was dyed bright red. At the same time, thick fur grew all over the barbarian's body. His nails were sharp, making him look like a vicious wolf, and his fangs also appeared at the corners of his mouth. In an instant, the barbarian turned into a demon. Sacrifice power? 30 barbarians sacrificed themselves and used their souls to buffet. This is a sacrifice to their evil god. Gu Qinsha saw this and laughed coldly. This was a sacrifice that made one neither human nor ghost. But this was the first time he had seen another sacrifice. This kind of sacrifice was far from that of a sacrifice to the heavens. I wonder how Lu Baiwe is going to deal with it. This barbarian is probably a Dao realm expert. Does she think that she can win? Gu Qinsha watched from afar as the other princes retreated, but Lu Baiwe stepped forward. Crunch, crunch. Lu Baiwe stepped on the snow with a muffled sound. She got close to the barbarian who had turned into a monster. The smell of blood spread everywhere, but she didn't care at all. She used a seal, and the blood in her body moved without any wind. Energy waves surged and forced the blood mist away. She was like a demon-suppressing god that wiped out all evil. Emperor, the barbarian's blood sacrifice has connected to the evil god, and his strength has increased. Could it be? Lu Chongxiao saw this and walked forwards to ask. Baiue's martial arts are good. Let's watch. Heaven Talisman Emperor didn't intend to attack, but a cold intent appeared on his face. That barbarian wolf actually dared to accept the sacrifice in front of me. The ancient scriptures said that when the saint is the Tao, ghosts aren't gods. It seems like I am not a saint. Even demons and ghosts dare to show off their abilities in front of me. The Lord insults me, and I deserve to die. A few officials knelt down. The other nobles were shocked and followed suit. They could tell that Heaven Talisman Emperor's killing intent could slay gods and slay celestials. Emperor, with your skills, you can cut off the evil god's god power tunnel. Lu Chongxiao kowtowed. Even if I do, I won't be able to hurt his main body. Heaven Talisman Emperor looked into the sky. So, I want to conquer the barbarian and kill his descendants and believers. This will cause him to lose the sacrifice source and the source of his strength. When that happens, no matter where he runs to, he won't be able to escape death. Chapter 26. Yes, everyone kowtowed. How long? At that moment, Lu Baiwe was already attacking the barbarian race monster. She was the only one who dared to go up, and the others retreated. After the blood sacrifice, the barbarian race had obtained the evil god's power. They were really strong and were even more vicious and cruel. They also had the battle experience that the evil god passed down to them, so they had exceeded grandmasters. Their combat strength was comparable to those at the first or second transformation of Tao realm. The princes present knew how strong they were, so who dared to go up? When 14th Prince Gu Yunsha saw this, he was shocked. Lu Baiwei doesn't know how strong the barbarian race is after the blood sacrifice. He had fought at the border and killed barbarian race generals. He had met barbarians who sacrificed themselves to strengthen their comrades and obtained killing power in a short period of time. He could even kill those who had just entered Tao realm. That was because this was the power of the evil god. But this killing power used up one's life source, and after it exploded out, the barbarian race generals would die. This was why when one faced such a barbarian race, one had to retreat and let them die naturally. Kill. Lu Baiwei used the void space seal, and her heart was calm. Her body flashed, and she waved her hands. It was as if she had 1,000 arms that pressed forwards. Instantly, a storm rose up. It was as if a giant wave had reached the heavens, and a tsunami surged. The barbarian race monster gave out a heart-tearing roar. Its sharp claws shone with a metallic light as it covered Lu Baiwei's head like it was about to rip open her skull. This barbarian race monster's martial arts were mysterious and dark. It was bloody and evil, but its moves were well-trained. The intent of this martial arts far exceeded that of grandmasters. In an instant, Lu Baiwei seemed to have fallen into an illusion. The world was gray and hazy, and there were piles of white bones everywhere. It was as if he had stepped into the burial ground of the netherworld. Gu Chansha looked from afar, and the image of the center of the burial grounds appeared in his mind. There was a throne of white bones that was tens of thousands of feet tall, and there was a devil god sitting on it. This devil god had a human body and a wolf head. He held a giant scythe dripping with blood, and his eyes were green. He instantly locked on everyone and stole their souls. Boundless spiritual pressure came crashing down. Compared to this, the 10th Prince Gu Jinsha's lightning slash force was like a drop of water compared to the ocean. This martial Tao will contain the will of the evil god. When he attacked, he could destroy the souls of Tao realm experts. Grand Empyrean of the Void, formless Dermic realm. Lu Baiwei had already expected this. Otherwise, she would not have been so reckless. She immediately activated her secret technique. In Gu Chincha's perception, this woman no longer had any martial arts aura. No, it shouldn't be said that she didn't have any martial way aura, but rather that her martial way aura was nothingness, the void. Since it was nothingness, then no martial arts aura or spiritual pressure would be able to affect her. At this moment, the sharp claws were already above his head, and he was in imminent danger. In the nick of time, Lu Baiwei squatted down, shrank, and spun around. Her speed was as fast as a flame, and she was already behind the brute tribe demon. Her palm formed a seal, and she pressed it lightly. This move used the void Daluo dermic seal. The demon from the barbarian race spun around furiously, only to see the entire heaven and earth filled with resplendent light. A palm descended from the heavens, covering the entire heaven and earth. The palm was actually filled with a chaotic void that seemed to encompass everything. In the face of this palm that was as large as the heavens and earth, the barbarian race demons could not muster up any thoughts of resistance. Bang! Lu Baiwei's palm landed on the barbarian race demon's chest, piercing through his back. It directly pierced through his body. Tremble. With her arm piercing through his chest, Lu Baiwei did not give the barbarian race demon a chance to resist. She roared like a tiger and used her strongest strength to tear through the barbarian race demon. Instantly, the barbarian race demon was split apart from the middle, and his body parts flew everywhere. At this moment, she was no longer a noble lady, but a war god who had slain all demons. All the nobles and nobles were dumbfounded. What they saw was Lu Baiwei tearing apart a barbarian race demon. In the midst of a storm of blood and carnage, she displayed her heroic nature. This woman is powerful. Gu Chansha felt a chill run down his spine, and he became even more cautious. He could not let this woman obtain any clues about his secrets. The last barbarian race general died at the hands of Liu Baiwei. At this time, the princes also returned. Many soldiers entered and started to count. Your Majesty, the numbers are out. Liu Baiwei has killed 32 barbarian race generals and is ranked first. Gao Ling said softly. There is no need to say anything. Give the 100 Tribulation Golden Pill to Baiwei. Heaven Talisman Emperor instructed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Liu Baiwei walked up to take it. The pill was placed in a bottle, but looked really heavy. It was probably dozens of kilograms or even hundreds of kilograms. The way to take the 100 Tribulations Golden Pill is very cautious. It must be boiled in a big fire for 7 days and 7 nights before a trace of golden liquid can be boiled out. Only then can be slowly swallowed. This golden pill will take 3 years to finish. When Gao Ling, the general director of the 6 palaces, delivered the pill, he warned, I know about that. Liu Baiwei nodded her head. Unless one reaches the 4th transformation of the Tao realm, one can swallow gold and turn into stone. Only then can one consume it. The 4th transformation of the Tao realm meant that one's organs were really strong. The organs were like a furnace and could digest metal and stone. At that time, one could consume all sorts of pills. Many pills contained metal and stone. Although they had strong medicinal powers, they weren't meant for normal people to consume. Many princes were tempted, but there was nothing they could do. Father, I have something to say. 10th Prince Gu Jinshan knelt down. Oh, speak. Heaven Talisman Emperor gestured. Half a year ago, brother's martial arts were really ordinary. So how did he reach such a realm? Just cultivating giant spiritual energy alone can't be explained. Based on the rules, the princes have to report everything they do to the Imperial Clan Manor. I think that brother has some secrets, and he has bad intentions. I hope that father can hand him over to the Imperial Clan Manor to investigate him and explain where he got his cultivation from. 10th Prince Gu Jinshan lowered his head, and his gaze was dark and vicious. As long as Gu Jinshan was investigated by the Imperial Clan Manor, they would be able to frame him. The Imperial Clan Manor was filled with people from the princes, so it was really easy for them to do so. 10th brother is truly treacherous. Gu Jinshan sneered in his heart. He still hasn't figured out father's intentions. Father clearly wants to put me in an important position, yet he still wants to cause trouble? Oh, Heaven Talisman Emperor fell into silence after hearing those words. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Everyone turned to look at Gu Jinshan, waiting to see how he would deal with this. However, he remained calm and didn't bother to explain himself. Baiwei, what do you think? After a long time, Heaven Talisman Emperor asked Liu Baiwei. Liu Baiwei didn't expect Heaven Talisman Emperor to throw this question at her. Although it was just a question, there was a lot of information contained in it. He wanted to see the Liu clan's attitude. In an instant, Liu Baiwei reacted. She knelt down and said, Your Majesty, I was the one who gave His Highness the Titan Force. I believe there won't be any problems. His Highness must have activated the bloodline of the great spirit god in his body and obtained the bloodline of an ancient true god. We must congratulate Your Majesty on this matter. In the future, His Highness will definitely be able to kill many in the war against the barbarians. These words expressed his stance, protecting Gu Jinshan. 7th Prince Gu Jinshan heard this and stared deeply at Liu Chongxiao. Liu Chongxiao felt a chill in his heart. The 7th Prince's gaze indicates that he will draw a clear line between himself and the Liu clan. If Baiwei attacks Gu Jinshan now, he might be able to gain the 7th Prince's favor. But he will lose face in Your Majesty's heart. Your Majesty bestowed the title of High Duke to Gu Jinshan and asked him to start a government office. Baiwei will naturally respect Your Majesty's wishes and protect Gu Jinshan. If this attack happens, the Liu clan will be finished. Little 10, did you hear what Baiwei said? Heaven Talisman Emperor smiled. What do you think? Father, 10th Prince Gu Jinshan wanted to say something. At this time, 7th Prince Gu Jinshan spoke. Old 10, don't be ridiculous. A real man is able to let go. You should be happy that 19th brother is successful in his cultivation. The The country has gained another talent. At this time, Gu Chansha felt something was wrong. He immediately changed his tone. Seventh brother is right. Little 19, you did well this time. Cultivate well. I still have tasks for you to do in the future. Heaven Talisman Emperor encouraged Gu Chansha. His tone was warm and gentle. Many of the nobles felt that spring was coming for Gu Chansha. The hunt lasted for 2 days. After the duels between the princes, it was time for the disciples of the nobles to practice their martial arts. It was an exciting competition. The nobles of the Yonko placed great importance on education. Almost every disciple was well-versed in both the pen and the sword. 2 days later, Heaven Talisman Emperor returned to the court. At this time, the red sun appeared in the sky. After Gu Chinch's initial success, he did not do anything else. Following the Heaven Talisman Emperor back to the court, he followed a few eunuchs from the Ministry of Internal Affairs to check out the mansion that the emperor had bestowed upon him. This time, the Ministry of Internal Affairs did not play any tricks. Everything was done in an orderly manner. 19th Master, the mansion is here. A senior eunuch led the way and introduced. Many years ago, when the emperor built the canal, he divided the land beside the river to build a mansion for the disciples of the imperial clan. Gu Chansha looked at his own mansion. It wasn't extravagant, but it was about 10 mu in size. In front of the canal, it was a magnificent sight. There was even its own pier where one could take a boat on the canal. Outside the mansion, there were orchards and fertile fields. 19th Master, outside this mansion, there are 300 mu of orchards and 1,000 mu of fertile fields. These are all fertile lands from the canal and belong to this mansion. After deducting the expenses, there's an annual income of about 50,000 yuan. The senior eunuch pointed to the orchards and fertile fields. A mansion would require at least 100 servants, and at most a few hundred. There were even thousands of them. There were also all sorts of connections. The annual expenses were not a small sum. Just relying on the salary was far from enough, and one had to have their own assets. Even for a prince, his annual salary would only be in the tens of thousands. As for a prince's mansion, it would require at least 50,000 to 100,000 yuan. This was still a conservative estimate. If one wanted to hold banquets, reward subordinates, recruit officials, or form cliques, it would require even more money. Little godson, later, go and take stock of the mansion's assets and calculate the accounts. At the same time, gather some of the original people in the mansion and give them a lecture. From now on, you are the chief steward of my mansion. Gu Chansha said to his godson. Yes, master. His godson beamed with joy. He had finally made a name for himself. He was originally a little eunuch who followed Gu Chansha and was bullied. He ate vegetables and tofu every day and never had a good day. Now, he had become the chief steward of Duke Chen's mansion. At the very least, he could manage 100 people and become a person above others. However, he was only happy for a moment before his mood darkened. Eunuch Chi, let's go through the accounts of the Department of Internal Affairs and hand it over. The senior eunuch, Eunuch Chi, was stunned. He thought to himself, why does this little godson seem like a different person? His temperament is deep and his strength is not ordinary. It seems that everyone thought that the 19th prince was a fool. I didn't expect him to have such a deep foundation that he could even train a eunuch. It seems that my little godson's cultivation has been successful, and he has cultivated an imposing manner. Gu Chansha nodded to himself. I have cultivated the emperor's god-sealing technique and sacrificed it to the heavens. In the future, I will have to study it and see what kind of pill I can make to help him cultivate his martial arts to the level of a master. Since he was going to open a mansion, it was best to have reliable subordinates. Gu Chinch's connections were thin. If he looked around, everyone would be suspicious. He was sure that in this mansion that he rewarded, many of the stewards were the subordinates of other princes. When the time came, his every move would be monitored. It would not be as convenient as before when he did things. Chapter 27. There were lights everywhere in the mansion. Gu Chansha sat on the grand wooden armchair, and his foster son stood beside him. The servants around him stood with their hands at their sides. Some stood under the eaves, some stood by the corridor, some held scissors to cut the wick, and some were sweeping the courtyard. They were all silent, each with their own ulterior motives, sneaking glances at the two people in the main room. Master, this is the name list. The entire mansion originally had 500 people. His godson handed over the name list. 500 people? That many? Clipchamp frowned. This mansion and the surrounding fields and orchards can only support 200 people at most. Not bad. Master's eyes are like a torch. His godson said. The original housekeeper of this mansion used his position for personal gain and kept many idlers. All the ants were stuffed into the mansion. In fact, the mansion is empty and there is no money left. In addition, there is a debt of tens of thousands of dollars. I have already gathered everyone and dismissed 400 people. I will keep 100 honest people and gradually replace them with our own people. Not bad, that is what we should do. Is there anyone who is dissatisfied and wants to cause trouble? Clipchamp knew that managing a family was like managing a country, and he could not let his guard down. Who dares? The law is very strict. If it was in the past, they would dare to be disrespectful to Master. However, Master has obtained the Emperor's appreciation and is still ignorant. Only death awaits them. Using slaves to bully a master is a big crime. We can execute them in the mansion. His godson's tone was filled with ruthlessness. However, our manor's housekeeper, old man Xia, is hard to deal with. He was sent by the Minister of Internal Affairs. You can handle this matter. I would rather have no one to do anything than have outsiders infiltrate in. Clipchamp said. That is natural. Master, in a few days, we will be holding a big banquet. After all, the opening of the mansion is a big event. The officials and even the nobles will send gifts according to etiquette. We must also send gifts in return. It cannot be too shabby, otherwise it will damage our prestige. His godson counted on his fingers. In addition, I have 50 armored soldiers. I have to recruit them myself and pay them myself. This is not a small sum of money. The operation of our House of High Duke needs money for everything. Although His Majesty has bestowed 300,000, I think it will be used up in a year. The first thing to do now is to increase income and reduce expenditure. I am not like the other princes. I have the support of my mother's clan. For other princes, their mother's clan was powerful. Some of them even built a mansion for them when they were born. For example, the 18th prince, Clipchamp, did not live in the mansion that was given to him. Instead, he built his own mansion. He had thousands of servants and experts. He spent money like water. With such a force, he could naturally move unhindered in the imperial court and do things with ease. As for Clipchamp, he could only work hard to manage it. That's right. You need money everywhere, but I have a way to get money. You don't have to worry about that. Clipchamp thought about it. At this time, he could kill the tigers and wolves, refine the tiger-wolf pill, and sell it through a secret channel. The tiger-wolf pill was an ancient, miraculous pill. Once it appeared in the world, it would definitely attract the attention of countless people. Of course, it would also attract trouble. If Clipchamp was an ordinary person, he would have a lot of scruples. However, he was a prince. He was below one person and above tens of thousands of people. He was not afraid of being investigated. As long as the emperor did not deal with him, no one would be able to do anything to him. If a tiger-wolf pill was really sold, it would probably be worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. As long as he sold a few hundred pills, he would be able to solve his financial crisis. I can sell the pill that I consume, his godson said, but how do I explain the origin of the pill to others? No problem. To say that I obtained a jar of ancient pills by chance. Who would dare to investigate me? Clipchamp did not bat an eyelid. Indeed, if an ordinary clan obtained such a pill, they could only offer it to the imperial court. Otherwise, their entire clan would be exterminated. However, my status doesn't matter. The little godson relaxed. But I've been in the limelight too much recently. I think I'll have to lay low for a while. That pill has to be sold to a reliable person. If it's taken by another prince, it's the same as giving money to the enemy. Yes, I already have a buyer, Gu Qinsha said. Long Yiyan? His godson understood immediately. Little godson, it seems that your training has really paid off. Long Yiyun's side is a good channel, but I actually want to sell it to the Liu family. Imperial father intends to get Liu Baiwei close to me, so I naturally have to borrow the Liu family's power. Gu Qinsha smiled. Of course, the Liu family is unfathomable, so I have to be on guard. That's natural. The Liu family has always been hostile towards me. This time, when I sell the tiger wolf pill to the Liu family, they can't resist the temptation and have no choice but to swallow it. Once they swallow it, the Liu family's power will definitely multiply. Now that the Liu family is half the imperial court, if they continue to grow arrogant, they'll have a tragic end. The little godson laughed coldly. That Liu Baiwei bewitched the 10th prince to beat me back then. This debt needs to be settled. Moreover, if something happens to the Liu family, I can think of a way to take over the Liu family's power. Then I can plot something big. But there's no need to scheme like this. Gu Qinsha looked at his little godson strangely. He didn't expect this kid to have such deep thoughts. But one must always be on guard against others, and one must never have the intention to harm others. This grandpa is open and above board. Let this lowly one handle these shady little things and sins. The little foster son didn't bat an eyelid. Sigh. Gu Qinsha sighed. Asked the manor's manager, old Xia, to come see me. An old man stood in front of Gu Qinsha. He wore a brocade robe and a hat. There was a thumb-sized jade embedded on it. Half of the jade was emerald green, and the other half was the color of flames. He also wore a jade thumb ring on his hand. It was pure white, and it faintly glowed with holy light. The boots on his feet were made of exquisite leather, and there were gems embedded on them as well. Cold and warm jade? Gu Qinsha recognized the jade that was half emerald green and half flame. It was the rare cold and warm jade. After wearing it, it could absorb heat in the summer and release it in the winter. In the winter, it could absorb cold energy and release it in the summer. The cycle of yin and yang energy was not only beneficial to the human body, but it could also increase the efficiency of cultivation. That jade thumb ring was also a treasure, and it was worth a lot. A small manor's manager was actually this rich. His entire outfit was worth at least 30 to 50,000 yuan. The current heavenly talisman dynasty sat on the 4 seas and was extremely wealthy. The people gradually became extravagant, and it was not strange for rich people to dress up like this. However, this old man was the manor's manager, and according to the rules, he should be a little more simple. Now that he was not afraid, he had a huge backing. This lowly one, Xia Huang, greets Lord 19. When the old man saw Gu Qinsha, he bowed slightly and did not kneel. How dare you? Kneel. The little foster son shouted. It's fine. Gu Qinsha stopped the little foster son from moving forward. Xia Huang, are you the manager of my manor? Yes, this lowly one manages the hundreds of acres of orchards around this manor and thousands of acres of fertile land. I maintain the manor's expenses and maintenance. Xia Huang said, this manor originally belonged to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the Emperor bestowed it to Lord 19. In the future, I will naturally help Lord 19 take care of the family property. I see. Gu Qinsha did not bat an eyelid. Then let me ask you, why is there no money in the manor's accounts? Instead, there are debts? How do you manage it? Lord 19 does not manage the household, so you do not know the difficulties of managing. This manor is so big, and the expenses for the staff are not small. It also needs to be repaired frequently to prevent it from rotting over the years. The income from a few fruit groves and a few fields is not enough, so the income cannot make ends meet. Xia Huang was not flustered. Xia Huang, I know you have been stuffing your pockets. Now, I'll give you a choice. Spit out the property that you have swallowed and obediently scram. I can still spare your life. The little foster son snorted coldly. Why does Eunuchy say this? Xia Huang was not the slightest bit surprised. Although this lowly one is lowly, I cannot be so easily framed. Lord 19, please investigate clearly. Is that so? The little foster's son laughed coldly and pulled out a half-dead man from behind. His body was covered in filthy blood. This is the accountant's room. After my torture, he confessed everything. He even took out a lot of account books. They're all here with me. As long as I hand them over to the Imperial Clan Court, not only will you confiscate the property, but you will also exile the entire family to the border to do hard labor and build the Great Wall of Stone. Think it through. The accountant's face was splashed with water by the little foster's son, and he came to his senses. Master Xia, I had no choice. I was beaten to death. Now that the evidence is here, Xia Huang, what do you have to say? I don't want much, just the money you have embezzled over these years. A total of 200,000, and I won't make things difficult for you. The little foster son presided over the matter, and Gu Chunsha just watched. Lord 19, don't go overboard. Xia Huang's gaze sharpened. I am Prince Fan's man, and the entire internal affairs hall is managed by him. If you touch me, you will be going against him. I think we should just mind our own business. Lord 19, I will continue to manage this place, and you could just be a country duke. How about that? Third brother's man? Prince Fan was third brother Gu Fansha. He controlled the entire internal affairs hall, and he was an old prince. He had stepped into the Dao realm long ago and led the army. He fought the barbarian race at the border, and he held real power. The current minister Fan Ruhai, who was in charge of the internal affairs hall, was his cousin. Although Gu Chansha was temporarily favored by the emperor, his foundation was still shallow, and he couldn't compare to the four princes. This was also the reason why Xia Huang didn't care at all. Gu Chansha stood up and slowly walked to Xia Huang's side. He suddenly attacked, and his slap was like lightning. Ha! Xia Huang's face was slapped, and his entire body flew out. He hit the pillar of the hall, and then rolled down, howling in pain. Who do you think you are, using third brother to pressure me? Gu Chansha laughed coldly. Your martial arts aren't bad, to be able to take my slap without fainting. Little foster son, tie him up, and then inform his family to hand over all the money he has embezzled. If not, I will deal with him like a servant and cut off his arms and legs before throwing him out. Yes, the little foster's son dragged Xia Huang out and took all the gemstones from his body. After tying him up, he came back to report. Master, by doing this, have we offended Third Master? He's not to be trifled with. There's nothing we can do about it. If we don't get rid of this thorn, we won't be able to reorganize the family. If we can't even fix the family, how can we do big things? Leaving Xia Huang behind is like having a thief in the family. It's useless to guard against him day and night. Anything we do will be heard by others on the same day. Gu Chansha understood in his heart. Only by removing this thorn will things be easier. Of course, there's still many thorns in this mansion. We will remove them one by one and replace them with trustworthy people. As for finding reliable people, I will leave it to you. I will cultivate in seclusion for the next few days and improve further. Everything else was fake, and only power was real. Chapter 28. Within the reading room. The moonstone gave off a gentle light that shone all around. The furnishings of the reading room were really simple. Zither, sword, bookshelf, ancient books. Apart from that, there was nothing else. The seventh prince, Gafasha, the head of the princes, sat cross-legged on the bed. There were no incense sticks in the room, but there was a natural valley breeze circulating around. There was also the natural energy of the hundreds of grasses. This was the energy released by his body. Gafasha had stepped into Dao realm long ago and was brewing the Samadhi true flame in his body. This was the 8th transformation of Dao realm. Once the Samadhi true flame circulated around his body, it would reach his brain and burn the life and death chamber. Then he would truly enter the 9th transformation, glass jade body. Because of that, all the impurities in his body were slowly being burned away. All that was left was natural energy. Seventh Master, this is what happened. Outside the door, a person knelt down and reported. Gu Chansha tied up third brother's men right after he got the manor. He didn't give him any face at all. It seems like he wants to make enemies all around. Seventh Prince Gafasha stood up. What happened to the people we planted? The people we planted are fine. They are well-behaved and have been arranged by the little godson. I told them to work hard and not expose themselves. That person replied, "Well done." Gu Chunsha was originally hiding his strength and biding his time, but he wasn't worth mentioning at all. Even if he cultivated to the Tao realm, I can still turn him into dust with a flip of my palm. Seventh Prince Gafasa paced as if he was thinking about something. But he actually activated the bloodline of the mighty miracle god. This is the source of terror. Once he communicates with the ancient mighty miracle god through a sacrificial ritual, who knows what kind of things will happen. Moreover, that Lu Baiwe is even more terrifying. That person just cowed out and didn't dare to reply. Call Mr. Jean over. Gafasha waved his hand. Yes. In just a moment, a person appeared in the middle of the reading room. He wore a Taoist robe and looked young. His face was like warm jade, and he looked like he was just over 20 years old. However, his eyes were filled with age, and he looked like he had experienced many things. Why did Seventh Master call me? The young Mr. Jean bowed and found a chair to sit on. Gafasa did not mind. Mr. Kim, what do you think of the ancient Titan god? Are you worried about the 19th Prince, Lord Seven? Mr. Jean said, although I don't go out, I've heard a lot of news, especially about the birth of the bloodline of the great spirit god. Even in ancient times, it's not a small matter. Seventh Master has saved my life. How can I not do something for him? Mr. Jean, you are an elder of the pre-celestial, everlasting sect. You are very knowledgeable, so I have no choice but to borrow your wisdom. Gufa Shah was very polite. The past is a thing of the past. The pre-celestial, everlasting sect is gone. Everything under the sky belongs to the Emperor. I am also a subject of the Great Eternity Dynasty. Mr. Hong had a bitter smile on his face. The Emperor is really unfathomable. The pre-celestial, everlasting sect is an immortal Tao sect that has been passed down from ancient times. For thousands of years, it has been one of the top 10 sects of the immortal Tao. Because the young sect master killed the governor of the Yu province, the emperor sent experts to eliminate us. I saw it with my own eyes that day. The emperor personally took action and broke 7 pre-celestial, everlasting formations. The 7 grand elders guarding the formations couldn't even take one move. Then, the emperor tore apart the void and pulled our entire sect into the depths of the space-time turbulence. Even the sect master died. I was captured by the Imperial Army and was about to be killed, but Seventh Master secretly swapped me and saved me. Now, I don't even dare to think about restoring the sect. I just want to live peacefully under Seventh Master's hands. What level is Father's cultivation? I know about the disappearance of the pre-celestial, everlasting sect, but I didn't see it with my own eyes. Isn't that? Seventh Prince Gu Fascia swallowed his words. Mr. Jean smiled. Naturally, he knew what Gu Fascia wanted to say. He played with the jade folding fan in his hand. Seventh Master, you don't have to be discouraged. The Emperor has a long lifespan. Although there is no hope for you to inherit the throne, you must know that even the strong will be envied by the heavens. They will not live forever. The stronger one is, the more tribulations they will face, especially the throne. Every word and action of the Emperor controls the fate of all living beings. Since ancient times, there have been long-lived immortals who lived in seclusion, but there have never been long-lived emperors who held great power. Mr. Jean calculated, my pre-celestial everlasting sect has the peerless heavenly book. It can calculate the past and the future. Once, the grand elder of the sect sacrificed himself to the book and saw the secrets of heaven. In the near future, there will be a great change in the world. At that time, it might be the chance for Seventh Master to rise. You know the whereabouts of the peerless heavenly book? Gu Fascia asked anxiously. Father did not obtain the peerless heavenly book. The essence of the book is heaven grade, so it is called the peerless heavenly book. This book has a spirit and is an existence similar to a god. It will automatically choose its master and escaped into the depths of the space-time turbulence. No one knows where it went, so I naturally could not find it. Mr. Jean looked regretful. If only I could obtain this book. Gu Fascia walked forward. To be honest, even if 7th Master obtained this book, you might not be able to use it to achieve great things, Mr. Jean said. The Emperor's cultivation can kill gods. Even without the legendary heavenly decree, he can still catch up to the ancient Emperor. So, 7th Master's every action must be based on the Emperor's thoughts. Only by doing things according to the Emperor's can you ensure your safety. At the same time, you can also increase your strength. You must not have any rebellious thoughts. Otherwise, disaster will befall you. Then, what about Gu Qinsha now? Gu Fascia also had his own thoughts. Father did notice him, but he has activated the bloodline of the great spirit god. He is a great threat to me. If I do not strike first, I am afraid there will be a disaster. You should know that the treasure left behind by Princess Xianqiao is in my hands. I'm also thinking about this. Mr. Jean thought quickly. After Princess Xianqiao committed suicide, the treasure map and the law-breaking sword fell into 7th Master's hands. All these years, 7th Master, have you figured out the secret of the treasure? This treasure map is profound and unpredictable, but I have some ideas. Wait until I burn the life and death hidden gate with true fire and burn my consciousness. If I succeed, my soul will condense, and I will have extraordinary inspiration. At that time, I will be able to figure out the secret of this treasure map. The 7th Prince reached out his hand and grabbed the air. Shoo! A dark golden map flew out from a secret compartment in the study. On it were densely packed strange runes, mountains, rivers, people, and all kinds of ancient words. The whole map was dazzling to look at. This map had the luster of an antique. Obviously, it had been played with hundreds and thousands of times. This is actually not a big deal. With 7th Master's power, you don't need to be afraid of Gu Qinsha. I think the Emperor is training him for a reason. It is not just for the Xianqiao. Think about it. The whole Xianqiao was destroyed at its peak. Now that the world is united and the people are at peace, why would the Emperor care about a few people? I think the Emperor still wants to find traces of the great spirit god from Gu Qinsha. The Emperor wants to kill a god. Mr. Jean suddenly had an idea. Kill a god? It is not strange for Father to have this idea. But if it is not done well, the country will be destroyed. The 7th Prince was very scared. Even the ancient emperors wanted to abolish the gods, but it was not easy. Some of the ancient emperors had angered the gods, and their countries were destroyed. Of course, many of the gods had fallen. In history, there were many wars of killing gods. Let's not talk about this. My cultivation has not reached that level yet, so I will never be able to figure it out. Mr. Jean, I still hope you can help me find the Peerless Heaven book. Actually, although the martial arts in the Peerless Heaven book are profound, 7th Master does not need to neglect the essentials. As long as I can learn the Emperor's great massacre god technique, what is the Peerless Heaven book? Mr. Jean sighed. Isn't 7th Master guarding the gold and looking for iron? Great massacre god technique. When the 7th Prince heard this name, his whole body shivered. This is Father's secret. Even I, the eldest son, cannot teach it. No, the Emperor has the breadth of mind to command the heavenly axiom. It is impossible for him to do it alone, so he needs help. As long as the 7th Prince can gain the Emperor's trust and show his worth, he will definitely be taught by the Emperor. Mr. Jean came up with a plan. I have a few plans to deal with the current situation, Liu family. Liu Baiwei was listening to the report. Miss, he is bold and decisive. He reorganized the household and did not hesitate to touch 3rd Master's people. Will there be any problems? The maid who spied on the information said, he is doing the right thing. He is swift and decisive. Liu Baiwei praised. Right now, he is being favored by the Emperor. He is taking this opportunity to reorganize the household, and no one will dare to stop him. If it is delayed, when the Emperor's favor dies down, he will reorganize the household, and it will be out of control. This Gu Qinsha, he has been deceiving me. But no matter how much he reorganizes the household, he has no one to use. It takes at least 3 generations to nurture talents, some even more than 10 generations. The maid sneered. He only has a little eunuch by his side now. What can he do? Miss, do you want me to bribe this eunuch? We can try, but we cannot let others make the first move, Liu Baiwei said. That little eunuch is his confidant. Everyone must be bribing him. Okay, I will do it now. Wait, this matter is not urgent. Why don't we go find him and wait for him to come to us? Liu Baiwei waved his hand. Gu Qinsha isn't a fool. He wants to revitalize his family business and establish his own residence. He can't do it himself, so he has to come to me. Moreover, the emperor has asked us to assist him in his task of investigating the remnants of the Xian dynasty. He has to obey this imperial edict. Also, send people to his residence. I must know his every move at all times. Originally, he was not worth so much attention. But after activating the giant spirit bloodline, he can communicate with the great spirit god and receive divine favor. He cannot be treated as an ordinary person. He may even become the representative of the great spirit god on earth. Then why is the emperor cultivating him? What does that mean? The maid was obviously the emperor's confidant. Because he is the emperor's son. Liu Baiwei picked up the pen on the table and wrote a note. The emperor has the intention to find clues about the great spirit god. Since it involves God, the emperor is very concerned about it. We must also pay attention to it. I will give you 200,000 taels to do this. Also, send a group of experts to control Gu Qinsha's residence. Chapter 29. There was a study at the innermost part. It was very spacious, but the decorations were very simple. The furniture was not extravagant either. It was made of ordinary hardwood with a layer of red paint on the surface. The house of high dukes shouldn't be this shabby. It was just empty by the butler. Gu Qinsha didn't go around to buy anything. He was cultivating his martial arts. Logically speaking, the mansions of the rich would have a secret chamber. It was convenient to cultivate and discuss matters without being eavesdropped or disturbed. It was also a place to store treasures and escape. A secret chamber was a must for the rich, but this place didn't have one. It was because building a secret chamber was the most expensive. There were all kinds of mechanisms, digging deep underground, setting up formations, and so on. It was several times more expensive than building an entire mansion. Gu Qinsha knew that in a prince's mansion like Gu Fasha's, there were ancient formations in the secret chamber that gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the essence of the 5 elements to cleanse one's body. When I settle down and accumulate money, I must build a secret chamber. He held the imperial edict with both hands. This was the edict to confer him the title of Duke Chun. If he felt it carefully, he could feel a kind of qi that could control the world and change people's fate. This was the qi of the emperor. The emperor was the creator of fate. Even if it was a poor and dejected person, as long as the emperor said the word, that person would soar. This kind of qi that could change fate was the qi of the emperor. The qi of the emperor was an extremely mysterious power. With Gu Qinsha's cultivation, he still couldn't understand it. Gu Qinsha lived in a small courtyard, eating rotten rice and drinking bitter water. Now that the heavenly talisman great emperor had given the order, he immediately moved to a spacious mansion with hundreds of servants. His fate had changed. Now he was going to sacrifice the qi of the emperor on the imperial edict to the heavens and obtain the cultivation method of the 3rd style of sun and moonshine together. Of course, he had only mastered the basics of sun and moon refining and sun and moon transformation. He was greedy, but with the imperial edict in hand, he couldn't waste the qi of the emperor. Losing the imperial edict was a huge crime, and he might be attacked. But it didn't matter. He could just create a fake one. No one would be able to tell anyway. Bang! The imperial edict burned in his hand, emitting raging flames. The emperor's aura was transmitted into the heaven sacrificial talisman. But this time, there was no image of the 3rd transformation of the sun and moon radiance. Instead, there was a change in the heaven sacrificial talisman. The imperial edict, which had been glowing with green light, suddenly disappeared, turning into a green light and drilling into the depths of Guchinch's mind. Following that, he saw a space glowing with green light. It was about a few acres in size, and in the center of the space there was an altar. The altar was round, simple, and desolate. Mottled patterns were inscribed on it, and one could feel the charm of the primordial chaos. Altar? Space. Guchinch's consciousness was clear, and he was in the room again. Then, with a thought, he once again entered the space of green light and observed the ancient altar. This space and the altar are the true form of the heaven sacrificial decree. Now, fuse it into the depths of my mind. As long as I want to, I can enter it and offer sacrifices at any time. Guchincha thought about it carefully and knew what had happened. The heaven sacrificial decree is an earth-shattering treasure. It's not a big deal for it to form a grotto heaven. It's a good thing that such a change happened. There's no trace of it, and I don't have to carry it with me all the time. It's easy to be discovered. The heaven sacrificial decree had turned into a space altar and was hidden in the depths of his mind. No one could find it. He was very satisfied with this change. The key was that if he encountered danger, he could hide in the space of the heaven sacrificial decree. As long as he willed it, he could enter it. Of course, if he encountered a real expert, he wouldn't even have time to think before he was overwhelmed by the aura of martial arts. He would still die a terrible death. Just as he was thinking about how to use the heaven sacrificial decree, his mind suddenly sensed something. Your martial arts are getting stronger and stronger. Another person appeared in the room out of nowhere. It was Long Yuyun. Be careful not to be discovered. Although I've established my residence, my every move is being monitored by others. There are many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the capital. If they find out that I'm in contact with Dragon Sword Island, I'm afraid I'll be in trouble. Guchincha saw that Long Yuyun's body was floating and her aura was faint. He knew that she had been poisoned and her martial arts had recovered. Dao realm experts, even if they were at the first transformation, could absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Their recovery speed was extremely strong, and they rarely got poisoned or sick. They wouldn't be tainted by the filth of the mortal world. Don't worry, I've recovered all my strength. I've also taken a concealment talisman to hide my aura. Long Yuyun smiled. You underestimate the methods of Dao Realm. You also underestimate the hidden strength of Dragon Sword Island. I already know that you obtained the title of Duchess of Dust Kingdom during the hunt in Nanshan. Apart from that Liu Baiwe actually killed the demonized barbarian general. It seems like even if I fight her head-on, I won't have the upper hand. You even know that. Guchincha was shocked at how strong Dragon Sword Island was. Our Dragon Sword Island and Gu Hongsha have been fighting for so many years, so we have some tricks up our sleeves. We've planted spies in various noble residences, so it's not an exaggeration to know some information. Long Yuyun was a little mysterious. Why are you here today? Guchincha asked. Naturally, it's to congratulate you on opening the residence and also to discuss some important matters. Your residence is broken and your servants are all scheming. Without my help, you won't be able to last half a year before it's riddled with holes. Your reorganization, just now, was actually useless. You've just alerted the enemy. Ruling a country is like cooking a small fish. It's the same for ruling a family. Long Yuyun looked around and smiled playfully. Then what about your men? Isn't it the same? Guchincha naturally knew what Long Yuyun was trying to do. It's not the same. The other prince's men want to harm you, but I'm cooperating with you and helping you. You and I both take what we need. Long Yuyun analyzed the pros and cons. You have 50 armored soldiers, but you have to rely on yourself to recruit them. Do you dare use those soldiers from the Ministry of War? As for my Dragon Sword Island, I can give you 50 warriors and even 10 martial arts masters and a grandmaster. The Great Yong Dynasty's conscription system was perfect. There were military academies everywhere, and anyone who wanted to be a soldier could enter and learn for free. As long as they could pass the test and reach the first level of the mortal realm, they could become a soldier. Before the Heavenly Talisman Dynasty, soldiers had a hard life. There's a common saying, Good iron doesn't need nails, and good men don't become soldiers. But now, the Heavenly Talisman dynasty had reformed the military system. Not only did the treatment of soldiers greatly increase, families could also enjoy the privilege of being exempted from labor. They were already almost the same as scholars. Of course, in the military academies, they also had to learn to read. The tests included various military affairs, geography, astronomy, water patterns, climate, and so on. It was precisely because of this that they were called warriors. Soldiers who could cultivate to the ascension stage would be assessed as warriors in the army and could become ordinary officers, which was equivalent to scholar officials. As for those who cultivated to the perfection stage, they would be assessed as martial arts masters, and their positions could even become junior generals who could manage 100 or even 1,000 people. Once they reached the peak and became a martial arts master, they would be a talented general, and it wouldn't be a problem for them to manage tens of thousands of soldiers. If the Ministry of War assigned them to Glyph, they would be ordinary soldiers. But now, Long Yuyun was able to give 50 warriors. Just how deep was their foundation? But thinking about it, Dragonsword Island was actually equivalent to a country with a population of several million. So it wasn't strange at all. Warriors were the middle force wherever they went. It was precisely because of this that the Tiger Wolf pill, which could turn ordinary people into Tiger Wolf warriors, was very popular in ancient times. A slightly talented person would start all kinds of training from a young age. They would eat fish and meat and receive guidance from famous masters. They would need at least 10 years of diligent training to become a qualified warrior. All right, we have a deal. Even if the entire mansion is controlled by you, it's still better than being controlled by those princes. Glyph thought about it and immediately agreed. Good. Long Yuyun clapped her hands. It seems like you're a person who does great things. Immediately weighing the pros and cons, don't worry, as long as you can control the court in the future. So what if the entire Dragonsword Island belongs to you? After all, the world already belongs to the Daon dynasty. Glyph stood up. That might not be the case. I've read history books. The land of infinity is so vast that even deities can't estimate its size. The land where the Daon dynasty is located is just a drop in the ocean compared to the entire land of infinity. No one can say for sure that in the faraway land that even deities can't reach, there is an imperial court that is stronger than the Daon dynasty. That makes sense. Second Prince Glyph's mission is to go around the borders and draw a map to see if there are any other powerful countries. Long Yuyun said, actually just overseas in the land of the extreme west, there's the Great Wei dynasty. The strength of the country is not to be underestimated. It's a pity that it's too far away. Even if our Dragonsword Island is an expert with an extremely profound level of Tao, it would take decades to fly there. Fly for decades? Glyph clicked his tongue. It's so far away. No wonder I haven't heard of any emissaries from the Great Wei dynasty. The matters of the mansion can be handed over to little foster's son to manage. I hope you can nurture him well. Right, I have something to ask of you. Glyph thought of many things. What is it? It's a book about ancient sacrificial techniques. For example, the ancient son of heaven sacrificed to the heavens, and the common people sacrificed to the gods. You want to sacrifice to the gods? Long Yuyun frowned. Right, you've activated the bloodline of the Great Spirit God. Could it be that you can really communicate with the Great Spirit God? Sacrifice to the Great Spirit God? Sacrifice is not a joke. Once you communicate with the gods, the sacrifice is equivalent to an exchange. You will be controlled by the gods. It's very dangerous. Since ancient times, whether it is sacrificing to righteous gods or evil gods, it is not the right way of cultivation. Even if it is a righteous god, once you sacrifice to him, you will have his mark on your body. If he falls, you will also fall. You will never be able to cultivate to his level. For us cultivators, the level is limitless. Even if it is a god, it cannot be a mountain that we cannot surpass. If you believe in gods, you will never be able to surpass them. That makes sense. This is the spirit of us cultivators. Gu Chansha suddenly thought of heavenly talisman great emperor's great god massacre technique. I am not sacrificing to the gods. I just want to understand. Chapter 30. The place where he found the heaven worship talisman wasn't the real library of the royal family. It was just a place where books were discarded. The truly valuable books were kept in the depths of the royal garden. Lord 19, you're a rare guest. Let me lead the way. In the garden, there were a few eunuchs following beside Gu Chansha. They were respectful and had a different attitude. The news of the 19th prince being conferred the title of duke and being valued by heavenly talisman emperor spread like wildfire. Even the eunuchs didn't dare to offend him. This is the first time I've been to the royal library. Indeed, all the books in the world are here. Gu Chansha observed the surroundings. He discovered that the palaces were all covered in gold leaf, inlaid with jade, and hung with pearls. Countless eunuchs and palace maids were cleaning and guarding the place. Lore 19, every hall is classified. There are classics, history, literature, astronomy, geography, culture, secret news, aristocratic families, agriculture, military, Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism. 36 categories. I can read these as I please. Only the martial arts cultivation manuals and the higher level manuals can be borrowed in the secret chamber. Which one would you like to see? I don't want to read martial arts. I want to read history and etiquette. Gu Chansha waved his hand. You can leave. There's no need to follow me. Yes. The ancient sacrificial rites were records of history and etiquette. Entering the hall, the Tenjong tall bookshelves made one's head spin. Countless books were arranged in layers, and many eunuchs and palace maids were cleaning the place all day long. There was a bookshelf with a catalog of the books in the hall. Just the catalog alone had more than 100 books. Gu Chansha flipped through them casually. He was in a hurry. An hour later, according to the table of contents, he took out an ancient history of the emperor and carefully flipped through it. The ancient history of the emperors recorded the deeds of many emperors. The true records that had been passed down from ancient times were very vast. The ones that Gu Chansha had read in the past were fragmented fragments and were far less detailed than the records in the royal library. The ancient emperors, what they did, what wars they experienced, how they conducted the sacrificial rites, were all described in detail. He continued reading and flipped through the ancient etiquette books. He pretended to read more books until the sky turned dark. Only then did he start looking for what he was looking for. Moral pill. His heart was thumping wildly as he discovered the key item. In the ancient history of the Son of Heaven, there was such a passage. The Son of Heaven carved the yin and yang jade plate with patterns carved on it, able to gather the essence of the sun and moon. Using the souls of the white tiger, black snake, yellow tortoise, green fox, and scarlet eagle to stimulate the 5 elements and use the Son of Heaven's aura as a sacrifice to the heavens, one could obtain the moral pill. This pill is a pill that opens the path and nourishes virtue. If you reach the peak of the mortal realm and reach the martial barrier, you will be able to step into the Tao realm after swallowing it. Moral pill. There is actually such a pill that could allow a grandmaster to break through and reach the Tao realm. It's the Son of Heaven's aura again. Gu Chansha knew that there were all sorts of sacrificial techniques recorded in the book, but the core was still the Son of Heaven's chi, the essence of the sun and moon, and the souls of the 5 elements vicious beasts. It's not a good thing to step into the Tao realm with the power of the pill. I want to break through the martial barrier with my own will. However, I don't need it for myself. I can use it to train my subordinates, or even exchange for treasures. If I have a moral pill, I'm afraid everyone would exchange their lives for it. Gu Chansha thought to himself. He continued reading and was shocked. He found an even more shocking sacrificial rites. The ancient emperors used human blood to burn grass and light lamps. They used the souls of people as sacrifices to obtain the heavenly dew. The water of heavenly dew can be used by anyone to speed up cultivation, cleanse impurities, strengthen meridians, expand acupoints, increase one's potential, and increase one's limit. It can cure all kinds of poisons and has all sorts of incredible uses. Gu Chansha was shocked when he read up to this point. Killing people as a sacrifice? That's not what a kind person would do. Then, he continued reading. To kill people as a sacrifice to the heavens, one needs to kill evil people. Evil people have the face of a human, but the heart of a beast. For such beasts, killing one person will save 100, punishing evil and doing good, sweeping away the evil energy of heaven and earth. One will be rewarded with the heavenly dew. Seeing this, Gu Chansha nodded his head. So it's to kill evil people. These people have evil energy, evil energy, evil energy, evil energy, and ferocious energy wrapped around their souls. Sacrificing such souls to the heavens is to sweep away the obstacles between heaven and earth. Thus, the sweet dew spring will descend. He thought of those barbarian generals. They were all fierce and vicious, cruel and bloodthirsty to the bone. Most importantly, they were bewitched by the evil god. They killed and ate humans, as if killing them was a sacrificial offering. However, it was also a righteous act to obtain the heavenly dew. The heavenly dew couldn't increase one's realm, but could increase one's potential. For example, a warrior's greatest strength was to pull a fierce horse. However, if he consumed the heavenly dew, his strength could double or even more. However, he wouldn't be able to become a martial master. Right. Although Lu Baiwe hasn't stepped into the Tao realm, she has exceeded the limit. Did she consume something like the heavenly dew? Gu Qinsha suddenly thought about it. Lu Baiyue's strength far exceeded that of a grandmaster. Even Gu Chansha, who cultivated the sun and moon training, couldn't compare to her. It would be weird if she didn't consume treasures. Of course, this was also because he had cultivated for too short a period of time. If he cultivated the sun and moon body for 10 years, or even dozens of years, then his meridians and blood would be strengthened, and he would be able to cultivate the sun and moon dragon body. Even if he did not enter the Tao realm, he would far surpass Lu Baiwe. The sky is dark, and you are still reading here? Gu Qinsha was engrossed in reading. Suddenly, he sensed something and raised his head. A girl walked in from the entrance of a hall. Lu Baiwe. She had changed her clothes. It was light green, and she didn't have any makeup on. Her face was creamy, and she had a clean temperament. She brought along a cool breeze that made people want to get close to her. In the past, she was cold and aloof. People didn't dare to get close to her. But now, her temperament had changed. She was calm and distant. You stepped into the Tao realm. Gu Qinsha's expression changed. You have good eyes. Lu Baiwe said casually, if I can't break through after getting the disaster golden pill, then how can I continue cultivating? Breaking through to the Tao realm is a transformation of the soul and temperament. It has nothing to do with the pill. Gu Qinsha asked tentatively. Indeed, breaking through with the help of the pill isn't considered a breakthrough. Lu Baiwe agreed. But it is true that there was a moral pill in the ancient times that can break through the barriers of learning martial arts. Are you here to learn the god's sacrifice technique? I'm just taking a look. Gu Qinsha noticed that Lu Baiwe was becoming more and more serious. He became vigilant. This woman wasn't a good person. Although she showed signs of protecting him, from her words and actions, he was afraid that she was not a friend. Are you here to read today? No, I'm here to find you. Lu Baiwe waved her hand. The eunuchs who were cleaning up retreated far away. She had no right to order the eunuchs in the royal garden. But now, the whole court knew that she was favored by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor doted on her more than any prince. Who dared to offend her? Gu Qinsha listened to her quietly. The emperor ordered me to help you recruit the remnants of the Xian dynasty. At the same time, I have to appease the people of the Xian dynasty. I have to make contributions in this matter. Lu Baiwe already had a plan in mind. You also know that there are only 3 months left before the warm spring flowers bloom. Our dynasty's army will go on an expedition to the barbarians and completely wipe them out. The base of the army will be Xian province. The people of this place are valiant. The incense of the great spirit god is strong. Every household worships him. There are also many temples. The emperor gave me a secret decree. He wants us to patrol this place and appease the people. At the same time, we have to exterminate the demons. In 3 months, the army will have a stable rear. Gu Qinsha understood as soon as he heard this. This was indeed the most important thing. Xian province was the former great Xian Empire. After it was destroyed, it was transferred to the Daong dynasty and became Xian province. The Xian Empire bordered the barbarians and had been at war with them all year round. Therefore, the people were valiant. They didn't worship etiquette but power. Because of this, the faith of the great spirit god couldn't be extinguished. The location of Xian province was very important. In order to turn this place into a base to resist the barbarians, the heavenly talisman emperor didn't dare to destroy the temples and could only appease the people. Gu Qinsha was the son of Princess Xianchao. Recently, he had activated the bloodline of the great spirit god. It was best to send him to patrol and appease the people. As long as Xian province was pacified within these few months, the army would not cause trouble when they were stationed there. After the barbarians were wiped out, the faith of the great spirit god could be uprooted. Gu Qinsha's political awareness wasn't low. He immediately understood this point. At the same time, he also understood that this was a great opportunity for him. Not only did he not have to make contributions, but he also had to step out of the cage and return to the sea. There were countless eyes watching him at all times in the capital. There was no room for expansion. Lu Baiwei saw his solemn expression. He seemed to be deep in thought. She knew that this person had understood the main point. She was shocked. When I gave him the power of the great spirit god, I thought he was young and frivolous. He didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I didn't expect him to be reborn in such a short period of time. He can even fight against the 10th brother. It seems like he has many secrets. He might not be as simple as I think. If that's the case, the imperial edict should be coming soon. Gu Qinsha said, patrolling Xian province, preparing provisions, and pacifying the local people. These are important matters of state. We have to make preparations first. As soon as he finished speaking, a voice came from outside the hall. There is an imperial edict. Lu Baiwei, Gu Qinsha, received the imperial edict. A group of eunuchs came in. The eunuch in the lead had thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looked very peaceful. The other eunuchs were also holding the imperial edict and other items. Gu Qinsha and Lu Baiwei quickly knelt down. The imperial edict is to order Lu Baiwei and Gu Qinsha to go to Xian province. They are to prepare provisions for the army, pacify the local people, inspect the army, eliminate the barbarian spies, and prevent the demons from causing trouble. They are to be bestowed with the imperial envoy token, a sword, and a dragon flag. After the eunuch announced the imperial edict, he took out another imperial edict. By the decree of heaven, Lu Baiwei has made many contributions. Although she is not a niece of the imperial family, I do not confine her to talent. She is specially conferred as Princess Yuefu. What? Conferred the title of princess? Doesn't that mean her title will be the same as her father, Lu Chongxiao? Gu Qinsha was shocked. What does imperial father mean by bestowing so many favors? No matter how much he dotes on her, bestowing favors like this is too much. I'm afraid it will cause criticism in the court. Only the daughter of the imperial family could be conferred the title of princess. According to the rules, if the daughter of the emperor was recognized, she could be conferred the title of princess, and the daughter of the prince could be conferred the title of princess. But now that Lu Baiwei was an outsider, bestowing the title of princess was an unprecedented event. Chapter 31. Eunuch Wang is too polite. Lu Baiwei took out a bottle. This is a little thing I found in the ancient land left behind by Tian Tianzi. It's very suitable for nourishing your body. In that case, this old servant will kindly accept it. Eunuch Wang was about to decline, but when he heard that it was something found in the ancient land of Tian Tianzi, he immediately smiled and accepted it. Gu Qinsha knew that this eunuch Wang was a major character and was as famous as Gao Ling in the Six Palaces. Chief Steward Gao Ling followed beside the Heavenly Talisman Emperor and dealt with secret matters. His aura was gloomy and mysterious, like the shadow of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. As for eunuch Wang, he dealt with the big and small matters of the Six Palaces. His aura was kind and benevolent. The two of them were in the light and in the dark, one yin and one yang, perfectly maintaining the operations of the palace. With regards to eunuch Wang, even Gu Fascia didn't dare to offend him. Gu Qinsha didn't give him any gifts. He was poor now, and giving him gifts would only be asking to be humiliated. He definitely couldn't compare to Liu Baiyue's wealth. Eunuch Wang didn't care about all this. He still had a kind expression on his face. This old servant has passed down the decree. I will go back and report to you. Eunuch Wang, take care. Liu Baiyue nodded. After eunuch Wang left, she said, Your Highness, since we accepted this mission, we have to leave the capital within 3 days. This mission won't be easy. I heard that in Xian province, other than the remnants of the Xian dynasty plotting in the dark, there are also barbarian spies trying to stir up trouble. Not only that, many evil demons also want to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to wreak havoc in the world and gain power. They want to collect souls, refine devil treasures, and cultivate magic. Once the war started, countless people would die on the battlefield. Those dead souls, baleful qi, and vengeful spirits were the best nourishment for evil demons. Gu Qinsha killed ferocious beasts as sacrifices to the heavens. From this, he knew that the heavens made an equivalent exchange. If you offered your soul to the heavens, you would receive a gift from the heavens. The soul was a type of energy. It was the source of all vitality. Without a soul, humans would rot. With a soul, vitality would circulate, and growth would be in a perfect balance. What should we do about this mission? I don't have any ideas. I'll just follow your lead. Gu Qinsha thought for a moment. I don't have any work experience. There are many things I need to learn. I hope you can guide me. Very good. Go back tonight and pack up. Bring some capable followers with you. There's no time to lose. We'll leave tomorrow morning and take the water route. Liu Baiyue immediately set the rules. I think so too. Gu Qinsha had to hurry back and settle this matter. He knew that this trip was definitely not simple, and the slightest carelessness would lead to disaster. The 10th Prince's residence was still deep within the pure Copper Palace. Gu Qinsha's eyes were closed as he cultivated. His pores emitted a thunder-like aura. Deep within his abdomen, qi flowed, and the roars of dragons and tigers could be heard, as well as the wails of ghosts and the howls of gods. After a long time, he suddenly opened his eyes and punched the ground fiercely. Cracks immediately appeared on the pure copper floor. What a pity. Just a little bit more, and I could have subdued the Thunder Dragon's will, broken through the martial arts barrier, and achieved the Tao realm. Gu Qinsha stood up. His body seemed to have grown taller. 10th Highness, you don't have to be so anxious. Haste makes waste. The Thunder Dragon's bloodline is fierce and domineering. The will contained within is also fearless of the heavens and earth. It can dominate the 3 realms. It's not easy to subdue the will within. However, once it is subdued, it will be many times more powerful than ordinary Tao realm experts. At that moment, there was another person in the pure Copper Palace. It was a middle-aged, brawny man. He wore a loose robe and had a white cloth wrapped around his head. His style was similar to that of the Southern Miasma. This middle-aged, brawny man seemed to be guiding Gu Qinsha in his cultivation. It was obvious that he was the most important first elder foreign minister in the residence. Mr. Feng, thanks to your guidance, my cultivation has improved a lot recently. Although the 10th Prince Gu Qinsha had a violent personality, he was very polite to this person. Unfortunately, I still can't completely merge the Ghost King Sutra and the Thunder/Force together. 10th Highness, you don't have to be so courteous. It's my duty to help you. You've already been recognized by the Ancestral Sorcerer's Bone Tablet. As long as you improve further and communicate the true essence of sorcery, you can become the young master of our ancient sorcery Tao. By then, I'll still be your subordinate. Also, Your Highness, you don't have to be wary of the sorcery Tao. The sorcery Tao is the ancient natural Tao. It's also a part of the heavenly Tao. It has nothing to do with gods. It's the past, present, and future. The past Tao is the sorcery Tao. It's the survival of the fittest and the survival of the fittest. The present Tao is humanity. It's the benevolence, righteousness, etiquette, and morality. It's Gu Tianzi who has the heaven sacrifice decree. As for the future Tao, I don't know what it is. Mr. Feng sighed. The sorcery Tao represents the past in the heavenly Tao. Although it has dissipated in the dust of history, someone has to inherit it. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao won't be complete. I hope he can be the successor. I think the world is facing a great calamity. If your Highness can't grasp the past sorcery Tao, I'm afraid you might die. What do you mean? Gu Zhensha's hair stood on end. He knew that Mr. Feng had a profound cultivation base and could peer into the secrets of the heavens. He also knew that Mr. Feng had an unparalleled power behind him. Back then, Gu Zhensha was able to destroy the Five Ghost sect and obtain the Ghost King scripture because of Mr. Feng's help. The Five Ghost sect had only inherited the superficial knowledge of witchcraft, the so-called witchcraft and ghost techniques. In every great era, there will be countless calamities. The ancient sorcery Tao ended and the human Tao rose. It's unknown how many gods, devils, and demons fell. That was a battle that lasted for thousands of years. The endless battles caused the void to collapse and countless races to go extinct. Amidst the battle of blood and fire, human civilization was born. Benevolence, righteousness, and etiquette were born. The sorcery Tao that followed the law of the jungle became an evil Tao. Hence, the past dynasties and generations hated the art of sorcery. Mr. Feng sat down and immersed himself in the ancient history. A sense of vicissitudes rose in his heart. And now, I can feel the opening of the future and the ending of the present. Because of the heavenly talisman emperor's thoughts, I'm terrified. He might be the key to opening the future. At that time, benevolence, righteousness, morality, and etiquette will collapse. The entire world will welcome earth-shattering changes, and the heavenly Tao will step into the future. As for what exactly it is, I have no idea. The heavenly talisman emperor's cultivation base far surpasses mine. Even destroying the remnants of the sorcery Tao is nothing to him. The past life of the heavenly Tao is a bloody sorcery Tao that follows the law of the jungle. The present life is about benevolence, righteousness, morality, and etiquette. What is the future life? Is this what Imperial Father wants? Gu Zhensha suddenly realized that he didn't understand his father at all. The heavenly talisman emperor. No matter what, it's not up to me to think about these things. Let's break through to the Tao realm first. While we're at it, let that brat Gu Zhensha be consigned to eternal damnation. Duke Chen residence. Gu Zhensha and Long Yuyun were discussing an important matter. I didn't expect the heavenly talisman emperor to let you handle this matter so quickly. This is a great opportunity. There are many experts in the Xian dynasty, and all of them are bent on reviving their country. You have the bloodline of the Xian dynasty's royal clan, and with the awakening of the great spirit god's bloodline, I'm afraid there will be many experts willing to submit to you. Your wings will grow stronger very quickly. Long Yun seemed to have grasped onto an opportunity. That might not be a good thing. All sorts of ambitious people would want to make use of me. At that time, I would be embroiled in trouble. Gu Zhensha didn't feel that this was an opportunity. How can there be any achievements without trouble? The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Long Yuyun continued. Lu Bai was said to travel by water tomorrow. Since that's the case, I will prepare a huge ship for you. The warriors of our Dragon Sword Island will become your personal guards. That way, you'll have more prestige. Absolutely not. Gu Zhensha hurriedly rejected. I think it's better for me to sit on Lu Baiyue's battleship. I've just established my clan, and I've already caused such a huge commotion. Those with ulterior motives would surely attack me immediately. How about this? If you want to do something big with me, you should first bring some people to Xian Prefecture to gather information. We can contact each other when the time comes. You're really meticulous in handling matters. But if you go out to do something like this, you won't be able to establish your prestige without any influence. Also, your every move will be under the surveillance of Lu Baiwei. This isn't good either. Long Yiyun could also see many flaws. If it was in the past, Gu Qinsha wouldn't sit on Lu Baiwei's battleship even if he was beaten to death. But now, the Heaven's Sacrificial Talisman had transformed into a spatial altar hidden in the depths of his mind. He had no secrets at all, and he could once again play the pig to eat the tiger. I have my own plans for this matter. Of course, Gu Qinsha wouldn't reveal many secrets to Long Yiyun. She wasn't a good person, and now that they were working together, he could only trust her a little. Okay, then I will bring experts to Xian Prefecture to plan. Long Yiyun had a playful smile on her face. The war is about to begin, and Xian Prefecture is a chaotic place. My Dragonsword Island can find many opportunities there. Early in the morning, the fog on the canal still hadn't dissipated. An iron-armored battleship stopped at the pier. It was pitch black like a giant shark coming out of the water. Many experts moved resources onto the ship. The soldiers were all covered in leather armor, and the armor seemed to change according to the color of the environment, perfectly blending into the surroundings. In the cabin, Lu Baiwei listened to the report from her subordinate. "Princess, everything is ready. All the experts in the mansion have put on the illusionary snake leather armor and prepared the secret weapon created by the Celestial Designer Institute, the Fire Talisman Spear. Dozens of people will fire at the same time, and even a Transformation 1 Dao Realm expert will die under this Fire Talisman Spear. It is the latest creation of the Celestial Designer Institute, and it hasn't been circulated yet. It is an absolute secret. That subordinate was a man with a knife scar on his face. He was filled with endless energy, and it was obvious that he was a martial path master. However, he knelt in front of Lu Baiwei respectfully. "Dao Nu, you've been in my Lu family for 20 years, right?" Lu Baiwei asked. "Yes, princess. 20 years ago, I was the sect leader of the Horizontal Blade sect. I did something illegal and was beheaded by the imperial court. It was the Duke who saved me, and from then on, I am willing to be a slave." Dao Nu knelt down and didn't dare to raise his head. "I know of your loyalty. Back in the day, your Hung Dao school had some influence in Xian province. This time, I brought you along because I'm familiar with the route," Lu Baiwei said. "You should know what to do, right? I have already made arrangements." Dao Nu retreated. At that moment, a tall and skinny man came in and knelt down as well. "Princess, Sword Slave has something to report. The 19th Highness is here alone, and he didn't bring any followers." Chapter 32. My foundation is shallow. The only thing I can rely on is that my father, the Emperor, valued me a little. Also, you gave me the secret manual of the Great Spirit God, which helped me cultivate to this stage. I don't have any prestige to speak of. Gu Qinsha looked around the ship and saw that it had changed to another battleship. This one was bigger and more stable than the previous one. It was equipped with cannons, which could be used to attack cities and seize territory. The Lu family's wealth was evident. Normally, although the nobles in the capital city had a ship with a tower, they couldn't own a big ship with cannons. Otherwise, it would be considered a rebellion. They would be exterminating 3 families. This Fire Shark battleship was secretly ordered by the Emperor to be transferred from the Heavenly Craftsman Institution. Lu Baiwei could see Gu Qinsha's doubts. There are 18 newly developed mountain-splitting cannons, on which there are spell formations inscribed by Tao State artifact craftsmen. The cannonballs are also equipped with incredible spell formations. They can collapse solid city walls more than 10 miles away. Awesome! With such cannons, we will be invincible in the next year's campaign against the barbarians. Gu Qinsha was shocked. Even a Tao State cultivator will be smashed to pieces. Tau state cultivators are not invincible in the beginning. Only after cultivating to the nine changes realm will they be like immortals, and ordinary methods can't destroy them. Lu Baiwei waved her hand, and the Tao slave took out a black object the size of a palm and handed it over respectfully. Gu Qinsha saw a trigger on it. It should be a concealed weapon or a crossbow. Bang! Lu Baiwei pulled the trigger in the distance. About 3,000 steps away, a water bird was shot. Its whole body exploded, and it turned into a fireball that fell into the river. In the blink of an eye, it was turned into charcoal. Isn't this a gun? How can a gun be so powerful? Gu Qinsha felt a chill in his heart. This is a fire talisman gun, newly developed by the Heavenly Craftsman Institution. Lu Baiwei returned the gun to the Tao slave. With this gun in hand, even a martial artist can kill a grandmaster with a little training. I didn't expect the Heaven Palace sect to create such a powerful weapon. But this kind of weapon will sooner or later fall into the hands of the common people. If it is used by lawless people, won't the world be in chaos? Gu Qinsha thought of the most serious problem. I had also thought of this problem before, and even specially sent a secret letter to the emperor to remind him. But the emperor said that the people of the world might need this kind of thing to protect their dignity. The emperor's breadth of mind was indeed very different from any ruler of the past dynasties. Every dynasty and every generation wants to fool the people, but His Majesty unlocked the wisdom of the people, toppling all the other heavenly emperors in history. Speaking of the heavenly talisman Immortal Emperor, Lu Baiwei was filled with admiration from the bottom of his heart. Gu Qinsha couldn't help but admire the way the great Yonko was governed. You haven't had breakfast yet, right? Shall I ask my subordinates to prepare it for you? Lu Baiwei asked again. I've already cultivated to the Tao realm, and I don't need to eat the food of the mortal world. I can just absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. I'm a little hungry, but I've been practicing martial arts recently, and I hate the smell of smoke and fire. I heard that you found a lot of good things in the ruins of the ancient Tianzi Su. I wonder if there's anything I can use? I have something to exchange for it. Gu Qinsha's abdomen was densely packed with the sun and moon dragon scales to store energy, so it didn't matter if he didn't eat for a few months. But he didn't want to expose his trump card, and he also wanted to test what kind of secrets Lu Baiwei had. Oh, what do you have to exchange for it? Lu Baiwei was interested. How about this? Gu Qinsha took out the tiger wolf pill, which was black and blue in color and had a powerful aura. He wanted to test Lu Baiwei's judgment. The ancient tiger wolf pill. Lu Baiwei's eyes became sharp. Even if a normal person consumes it, they will become a tiger wolf warrior, comparable to a warrior who trained for 20 years. Apart from increasing one's strength and not having any side effects, the most important thing is to change a weak person into a tiger wolf because this pill contains the might of tiger wolf. A person's personality determines success or failure. A weak, indecisive person, even if he was given strength, he wouldn't know how to use it. In the end, he would be defeated. However, a strong person, even if he didn't have strength, he would still think of ways to work hard and achieve something in the end. The most important thing about the tiger wolf pill was to inject the tenacity of a wolf into the soul of a normal person and the dignity and confidence of tiger. These two things are necessary for success. This was something that no pill could do, and it needed the power of the heavens to merge with it. Good eyesight. You can tell that this is the ancient tiger wolf pill. Gu Qinsha praised. I think many young disciples of the Lu family need this pill. Where did you get it? This pill came from the ancient times and has long been lost in the modern era. Even the most brilliant pill refiner cannot refine it. There are pills that increase strength, but it is impossible to give a person the nature of tiger wolf. This involves the changes of the heavens. Lu Baiwei was obviously moved. Although she didn't need it, many disciples of the Lu family needed it. The Lu family was a big family. If they wanted to prosper, talents were the most important. Although most of the disciples had good resources, they had been pampered for too long. Their personalities were inevitably lazy and arrogant, which made it hard for them to take on big responsibilities. If they had the tiger wolf pill, it would be completely different. Everyone in the family would be an elite. What did clans rely on? What they relied on was the continuous emergence of outstanding geniuses. When a wolf hunted, it could hide for a long time without moving. It could endure hunger and cold. If a person had the patience and tenacity of a wolf, what couldn't they do? My mother was a princess of the Xian dynasty. It isn't strange that she left me something to protect myself. Gu Qinsha wasn't stupid enough to tell the truth. Of course, even if he said that the heaven's sacrificial decree was in his hands, no one would believe him. How many of these pills do you have? Lu Baiwei was very straightforward. How many do you want? Gu Qinsha asked in return. I want as many as you have. Lu Baiwei ordered her subordinate. Yu Xiang, bring the heavenly dew over. Heavenly dew. It really is heavenly dew. Gu Qinsha remembered the records in the history books. Lu Baiwei had indeed consumed this. There was heavenly dew left behind in the ancient ruins of the Son of Heaven. He just didn't know how much Lu Baiwei had obtained. A maid brought over a jade bottle the size of a thumb. This is heavenly dew. You are familiar with history books and should know what it does. There are 5 drops in the bottle. Every time you take a drop, the dew will stay in your body for a month, improving your meridians, expanding your acupuncture points, and toughening your flesh. Also, for a month, you don't need to eat anything that smells like smoke to prevent your body from being polluted. Lu Baiwei said, now, 5 drops of heavenly dew in exchange for 2 tiger wolf pills. You're not losing out, are you? Deal. Gu Qinsha exchanged right away. He needed the heavenly dew now. The ancient Son of Heaven cultivated the Son of Heaven seal, God technique, and needed the heavenly dew to be able to cultivate it to such a high level. Actually, only the sun and moon refinement technique could completely merge the medicinal properties of the heavenly dew with the body. Moreover, when one reached the martial technique grandmaster realm, one had to pay attention to what they ate and drank. If not, the impurities in their bodies would accumulate. Not only would they not improve, but they would also get weaker. Because of this, basically no martial technique grandmasters could reach the Tao realm. Martial arts grandmasters preferred to eat and drink elixirs that were refined to the extreme, or those kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Who would be able to support such a huge consumption? Even rich and noble families would have to spend a lot to raise a few martial technique grandmasters who could reach the Tao realm. The two of them exchanged treasures. Gu Qinsha asked for a quiet room from Lu Baiwei and was about to consume a drop of heavenly dew to cultivate. Princess, how did he get the tiger wolf pill? Yu Xiang was obviously her confidant. She immediately knelt down. Was the information I gathered wrong? Did I do anything wrong? He still gave me a surprise. Lu Baiwei's expression was normal. He didn't bring any followers and sat on my ship. That means he can endure the humiliation and save a lot of trouble. This is a wise move. Luckily, I can use these few days to see how strong he is. Let's set sail. Hung Long. The giant anchor was pulled up, and the Fire Shark battleship rode the waves and left the capital city. On the shore, a few spies dressed like commoners exchanged glances. I didn't expect Prince 19 to disregard his identity and face and sit on Lu Baiwei's ship. He completely ruined our plan. 10th Master told us to create trouble for him. What do we do now? We don't dare to provoke Lu Baiwei at all. It's better to report this to 10th Master. The spies quickly left. In addition, there were a few others who also felt that they couldn't do anything. Oof. If I take the ship myself, I don't know how much trouble I'll cause. I'm afraid I'll be obstructed before I even reach Xian province. In a small private room, Gu Qinsha observed his surroundings and thought calmly. The private room on the ship was quite spacious. It was more than 10 steps wide and 3 feet high. It was made of steel, but it was framed with spices and wrapped in fur. It was luxurious and luxurious. Gu Qinsha dripped a drop of heavenly dew, and its fragrance immediately filled the room. The heavenly dew was blue, similar to the sky. It was as if a small piece of the sky had been torn down. He dripped it on the tip of his tongue. He didn't need to swallow it. The heavenly dew melted into his flesh and blood and instantly spread to every part of his body. This kind of feeling was breathtaking, like the kind of carefree feeling of having a flash of inspiration. For example, when you pondered over a problem for a long time and couldn't figure out the main point and suddenly figured it out, that moment was the most intense moment in life. The moment the heavenly dew entered his mouth and spread throughout his body, it was this smell, refinement of sun and moon. He immediately activated the internal energy of the refinement of sun and moon. The medicinal power of the heavenly dew flowed in his meridians and changed. His flesh and blood were changed and tempered, and his meridians gradually expanded. As he breathed, there seemed to be some kind of whirlwind in his body. Although he was practicing the refinement of sun and moon from the perspective of others, he was cultivating the technique of the Great Spirit God. This was because he had cultivated the transformation of sun and moon. Any martial art could become the cultivation of the transformation of sun and moon. After a long time, he regained consciousness. He felt that his strength, speed, agility, and thinking had all increased slightly. His limit had increased. A few dragon scales of the sun and moon appeared on his back, protecting the key acupoints. He's cultivating the technique of the Great Spirit God. In another room, there was a mirror that showed Gu Chen's every move. Lu Baiwei observed, but she couldn't find any clues. The power in his body is surging like the tide, and his bloodline is strong. It gives people the feeling that it's as heavy as a mountain. It seems like that's the bloodline of the Great Spirit God that's gradually being activated. At this time, the red sun hung high in the sky. The fog on the surface of the river had dissipated. It was already noon. Gu Qinsha cultivated for a full 4 hours. The blue waves stretched for thousands of miles, and the river was vast. Although the wind was very cold, it also had a hint of spring. There were many ice floes on the surface of the river. It was difficult for ordinary boats to travel, but the Fire Shark battleship could break through even the thickest ice, let alone the ice floes. Princess, we've already left the capital. With our current speed, we'll reach the boundary of the Stone Province tonight, someone reported. Chapter 33. The surface of the river was extremely wide. Due to the cold weather, there were very few ships coming and going. They were not afraid of bumping into other ships at such a fast speed. The Fire Shark warship gradually left the capital city. At first, it was a flat stretch of land. Looking around, there were densely packed towns along the canal. However, after traveling for a few hundred miles, it gradually became barren and the plains became hills. After traveling for 1,000 miles, there were high mountains on both sides of the canal. The surface of the river was also a little narrower. The current was obviously very rapid. The Fire Shark warship was actually a little shaky as it roared. From time to time, the cries of apes could be heard from the high mountains. Under the night sky, it seemed a little desolate and terrifying. Princess, it's already the hour of the 5th lunar month. The ship has arrived at Stone Prefecture. Should we find a place to rest or continue forward? If we continue forward, it might be dangerous in the dark. Someone came to report. This person stood straight like a javelin that pierced through the sky. His martial arts aura was sharp. What hour of the 5th lunar month? It's 20 o'clock. Lu Baiwei took out her pocket watch and looked at it. The Emperor has just announced a new time. You guys have to learn it well. When we get back, I will reward you with a pocket watch. There's no need to stop at the shore. Continue forward. Turn on the moonstone and hurry through the night. Thank you, Princess. The man quickly knelt down. Spear's slave obeys. Also, His Highness Gu Shizhou has left the room and went to the deck to get some fresh air. Let's go. Lu Baiwei put on her clothes and walked to the deck on top of the warship. The deck was very wide and could accommodate a few hundred people. It was all made of steel, and there were thick iron railings on all sides to prevent people from falling when the ship was shaky. However, the cold wind was so strong that standing on the deck would make it hard for people to breathe. If it was an ordinary person, they might even be blown away. However, Gu Qinsha did not move at all. The strong wind made his clothes flutter. He looked at the ink-like mountains in the distance, and no one knew what he was thinking. Rumor has it that Stone Prefecture used to be a stretch of mountains that spanned a few thousand miles. It was difficult for apes and monkeys to cross. There was no canal at all. However, after my father ascended the throne, the thousands of miles of mountains were suddenly split open and formed this canal. It then gradually expanded and became an important waterway. This is simply a miracle. I can't imagine how much supernatural power is needed to achieve this. With my current strength, I can at most move a 10,000-kilogram boulder. Even if there were 10,000 of me and I spent hundreds of years, it would still be impossible for me to open up such a huge canal in the mountains. Gu Qinsha looked at the steep cliffs around him, the deep rapids, and the wide river. It was hard to imagine that this was the work of man 10 years ago. He had studied geography before. More than 10 years ago, the map of this place was a mountain that was connected to another mountain. There were no roads or bridges, let alone rivers. Ever since he was young, he had never left the capital. Now that he was out, he was greatly shocked by what he saw along the way. The entire Stone Province can be said to be a barren land. Every dynasty has been a hidden danger. In the mountains, there are countless evil sects, bandits, and people from the pugilistic world. The army can't encircle them at all. Only during the Heavenly Talisman dynasty did the emperor use a supreme technique to move the mountains and turn the land into a river. This greatly improved the situation in Stone Province. In the past, if we wanted to go to the border, we had to go around Stone Province. This way, the army would have to travel thousands of miles. As for the other benefits, they're innumerable. Lu Baiwe also went up to the deck. The sky gradually darkened. The surrounding mountains were stacked one after another like a giant demon overlooking the river. In addition to the mournful and cold night wind and the incessant cries of the apes, a terrifying artistic conception pressed on. Gu Qinsha felt that it was very refreshing. Compared to the scenery in the capital, this place had a different flavor. He observed the landscape of the mountains and rivers and seemed to have a deeper understanding of martial arts. Reading 10,000 books was not as good as walking 10,000 miles. Swoosh! As he spoke, a ray of light shot out from the ship and spread out, illuminating the river's surface snow-white. He was no longer afraid of crashing into cliffs in the dark. This was a moonstone spotlight, something from a Celestial Designer Institute. At this moment, the night birds on both sides of the mountain suddenly flew up. Countless apes cried out in fear and fled in the forest, as if something terrible had happened. And on the surface of the river where the moonstone spotlight shone, a black figure appeared, bobbing up and down in the water, rapidly approaching the fire shark ship. Enemy attack. The experts on the ship's cabin also discovered that something was wrong. Dang! 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 The alarm bell rang, and all the experts on the ship moved out in an orderly manner. Ignorant fools. Lu Baiwe had already expected this. Her face was as cold as frost. Who are these people? How dare they attack the Imperial Envoy's ship? Gu Qinsha's eyes were sharp. He looked at the black figure on the surface of the river. It was a mysterious person wearing a black fish skin suit. He had just emerged from the water when he dove into the bottom of the fire shark ship. The river's surface was surging, and there were even undercurrents and whirlpools at the bottom. Even fish would be exhausted, let alone humans. It was basically impossible to survive after falling into the water here. Yet these people could actually swim underwater as if it was flat land. They were either gifted or powerful, or both. So. These people approached the ship in the water and actually climbed up the ship like lizards. They were agile, and their temperament was cold and terrifying. The fire shark ship was smooth and slippery, and there was nothing to climb on. However, these people had suction cups on their palms and easily jumped up. These are barbarians. They are wearing black dragon fish skin. This skin is tough enough to block swords and spears, and has the ability to increase speed, keep warm, and waterproof in the water. Lu Baiwe's eyes were filled with disdain. They should be coming for me. That day at Nanshan hunting ground, dozens of barbarians sacrificed themselves, stirring up the spirit of the barbarian evil god and turning them into demons. However, they were killed by me. In the eyes of the barbarians, this is already a blasphemy against the god. That evil god also sensed it and must have sent down an oracle in the barbarian temples. Whoever can kill me as a sacrifice will be rewarded by the evil god. In addition, I have obtained the true essence of the ancient Son of Heaven, Void, and am an incomparably powerful sacrifice. If you capture me as a sacrifice, the rewards will be unimaginable. Do you regret boarding my ship? These barbarians are beasts in human form. There is no way to change them, and the only way is to kill them. After they capture someone, the first thing they do is to kill them as a sacrifice and then eat their flesh. I also want to train my martial arts and increase my experience. It will be better if the barbarians attack. As Gu Qinsha spoke, he saw a few black shadows leaping onto the deck and diving down like ferocious beasts. Chi chi chi. Black lines as thin as mosquito whiskers flashed in front of him. Damn it! Armor-breaking mosquito whiskers. Lu Baiwe waved her big sleeves, and those black lines were all sucked into it. However, black smoke came out of her sleeves, and it was actually corroded by poison. Armor-breaking mosquito whiskers. Gu Qinsha was also smart and dodged with all his might. Those mosquito whiskers shot onto the deck, and even steel emitted a pungent smell, not to mention flesh and blood. Armor-breaking mosquito whiskers were extremely poisonous hidden weapons. They were installed in iron pipes, and when they were shot out, they could hit an enemy within 100 steps in the blink of an eye. Even armor could not withstand it. There was a corrosive poison on it, and if a person touched it, they would turn into pus and blood. This was the forbidden weapon of the Dexterous Hand Pavilion, the most mysterious sect in Jianghu. The Dexterous Hand Pavilion was destroyed by the imperial court, and many valuable craftsmen were subdued and brought into the Heaven Palace sect for research, but some important people had escaped. This information was recorded in the imperial family, and even the princes had to read it in class. Chi, 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 chi. More and more barbarians climbed onto the deck, and every barbarian master had armor-breaking mosquito whiskers in their hands, and they shot them at Lu Baiwe and Gu Qinsha randomly. As long as they were hit by one, unless they had cultivated to the third change of the Tao realm, with copper skin and iron bones, they would die without a doubt. Go to hell. Lu Baiue's speed increased so much that the naked eye could not follow her movements, and the armor-breaking mosquito whiskers could not hit her at all. Bang, bang, bang. She waved her big sleeves again, and 3 to 5 barbarian masters had their internal organs smashed, and they fell into the water. In the blink of an eye, they were washed away by the torrent and buried in the stomachs of the fish. Gu Qinsha also knew that this was the real battle. Although it was thrilling to fight with the barbarian generals in the South Mountain Hunt, he had been accompanied by the royal masters the whole time. If there was real danger, the masters would not just watch the princes get hurt or die. But now it was different. If he was hit by a mosquito's whisker, he would die without a burial place. This thrilling excitement made the blood in his whole body boil. The Great Spirit God technique. Move mountains, overturn rivers, and overturn seas. He used the 3 techniques without thinking. On the deck of the mountain, the wind howled, and the airflow formed a whirlpool, making people unsteady. He approached the barbarian master, stretched out his long arm, and grabbed his opponent's face. He used his 5 fingers to hook inwards. Bang! The barbarian master's head was like a rotten watermelon. Gu Qinsha suddenly thought, the barbarians are ferocious, and they are the evilest people. Gu Tianzi's achievement was to kill barbarians as a sacrifice to the heavens. Can I try to make a sacrifice now? Immediately, his mind moved, and he communicated with the sacrificial altar formed by the sacrificial decree in the depths of his mind. Suddenly, under his claw, a ball formed by the blood and souls of the barbarians was sucked into the sacrificial altar's green light space. And the barbarian master collapsed, as if all his life essence had been sucked out, and he became a rotten piece of wood. Gu Qinsha was afraid that Liu Baiwei would be suspicious, so he kicked the master into the river. I didn't expect the sacrificial decree to have such an ability after transforming into a sacrificial altar. I understand now. The sacrificial decree is the most powerful magical treasure since ancient times. How can it only have the ability to make sacrifices? After I got it, the reason why I couldn't develop its ability was because I didn't have the Emperor's aura. Only when the Emperor uses the Emperor's aura to nourish this talisman can the talisman gradually reveal its mysteries. Gu Qinsha was enlightened, and he understood. The sacrificial decree needed the Emperor's aura. The Emperor's aura was the mysterious power that made all living beings bow down to you and listen to your orders. This power was the rule. Think about it. Even if the Emperor was lying on the sickbed without the strength to truss a chicken and was on his last breath, with a single word from him, he could cause the world to bleed, kill 9 generations of people, and bestow riches and honor to people with a single thought. Based on what? It was authority, rules, and etiquette. When authority, rules, and etiquette were nurtured to the extreme, the Emperor's aura would be born. Chapter 34. Using the blood of the wicked, demon, and barbarian to light up the lamp with the venomous spirit, one can obtain the heavenly dew. Gu Qinsha recalled the records in the history books. Now, after killing this barbarian, he activated the heaven sacrificial altar's ability. The essence of the blood and the evil spirit turned into a ball of blood and was absorbed into the space. With the addition of the venomous spirit, one could obtain the heavenly dew. The venomous spirit was used for divination and was rumored to have the ability to calculate the future. It was not rare and grew everywhere. Everyone who studied divination used it. Even the Confucian sage highly recommended it. The souls of ordinary people were transparent and invisible to the naked eye. But for those with high cultivation, their souls were green, gold, purple, and so on. They were righteous, kind, and beautiful. Their souls were white, giving off a sense of righteousness. In short, the souls of good people were a pleasant color. The souls of wicked people were pitch black, giving off a sense of discomfort and disgust. After killing this barbarian, the ball of blood would wrap around his soul. It was unknown how much evil he had done and how twisted his heart was. There was even a thick aura of an evil god. Sacrificing such a soul to the heavens was equivalent to helping the heavenly Tao maintain the order of the world. However, Gu Qinsha did not pay much attention to this. He understood that only by becoming the emperor and gathering the sun of heaven's chi could he truly unleash the power of the heaven's sacrificial talisman. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to cultivate to the highest level. But as for becoming the emperor, he did not have any thoughts. His ability to govern a country was far inferior to the heavenly talisman emperor. Moreover, seizing the throne was not so simple. Now that the country was at peace and the people were at peace, seizing the throne would definitely cause the world to tremble. This was not what Gu Qinsha wanted. Forget it. I'll take it one step at a time. What's the point of thinking so much? Gu Qinsha made up his mind. I have obtained the heaven sacrificial talisman, and I have my own destiny. I just need to uphold my morals, punish evil, promote kindness, and, at the same time, protect myself. As for how far I can cultivate, that is not something I can calculate. The future is unpredictable, and who can predict everything? I just need to focus on what I'm doing now. This thought flashed through his mind. He was no longer confused and became determined. Bang! His palm technique was swift and violent, and he killed another 3 barbarians. The blood essence and souls of the barbarians he killed were all sent into the space of the altar. He also noticed something else. Only when he killed a berserker and wanted to turn him into an offering would the dimension of the heaven offering platform take the initiative to absorb him. He did not even need to use his thoughts to urge the berserker's soul to scatter into the world, and the essence of his blood would remain in his corpse. In other words, after the heaven's sacrificial talisman transformed into the altar space, it had the ability to absorb offerings according to Guchench's will. This was also the basic function of some magic treasures. Gu Chunsha had read the annals of the heretic path, and he knew that in history, there were fierce heretic path experts who refined magic treasures. For example, there was the soul-devouring banner. With a wave of the banner, the souls of hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians in an entire city would be sucked away, filling the city with corpses. It was incomparably terrifying. Precisely because of this, after the heavenly talisman emperor ascended to the throne, he made up his mind to annihilate all the evil sections. This was a great deed of merit. Nobody was willing to see their entire family die in a single night. Void God treasure, grand overarching space. Just as he was about to kill the berserkers, Lu Baiwe let out a long roar. It was unknown what kind of body skill she executed, but the deck was filled with her shadow. In a few breaths' time, dozens of berserker race experts were all killed and thrown into the river. This body skill is so powerful, Gu Qinsha thought to himself. However, if I cultivate the sun and moon transformation for a few more years, the changes in my body skill will surpass Lu Baiwe. The sun and moon transformation also contained the changes in body skill, so the shadow of the sun and moon was everywhere. Under the illumination of the sun and moon, everything would have shadow. Are there any more berserkers in the river? Gu Chansha rushed forward and asked, "We can use the fire talisman spear to kill these berserkers in the river. The bullets of the fire talisman spear are extremely precious. We can't use them unless it's a critical moment." Lu Baiwe stood against the wind. These berserkers only have the armor-breaking mosquito needles that are more powerful. Those people from Nimblehand Pavilion actually submitted to the berserkers. They are no different from beasts. I'm afraid there are more experts. Gu Chansha seemed to feel a sense of danger. Since the evil god of the berserker race activated his oracle to kill you, the ones coming are definitely not people these small fries can compare to. That's natural. Lu Baiwe stared at the river far away. What weapons do you want? I remember that the technique of the great spirit god has a skill of weapons. Spears, axes, hammers, knives, swords, and staffs. They all form their own system. I don't need weapons, just my bare hands, fists, and legs will do. At this moment, Guchinch's palm force could split stones. It could swallow and spit, combining strength and softness, surpassing many weapons. It's good to have confidence, but the martial world is dangerous. For example, these people just now, if they were wearing a type of leather armor called poison spike armor, when you hit them with your palm, the poison spikes would pierce through your skin and seep into your body, numbing you to death. There are also poison experts in the martial world who are covered in poison. If your hand touches them, they will die right away. Lu Baiwe reminded, you can use weapons to kill enemies quickly. The longer you are, the stronger you are. Unless you cultivate to the 6th transformation of the Tao realm, you can use Xiantian energy to use the 100-step God Fist to smash the enemy. Then, I will use a spear. Gu Qinsha thought about it. All sorts of weapons went through his mind, and he decided on the most suitable one. Spear slave, take a spear. Lu Baiwe instructed. Yes. One more person appeared on the deck. It was the spear slave. A pitch-black spear appeared in his hand. It was made of metal, and there were threads spinning on it. When it shook slightly, it gave off the sound of metal clashing. 19th Highness catch. The spear slave tossed it over. Gu Qinsha grabbed it with one hand and sank down slightly. He felt that the spear weighed 50 kilograms and was made of rebar. It was mixed with rare metals and was really flexible. When he shook it slightly, the spear was like a flood dragon. 19th Highness, you are really strong. The spear slave was shocked. He was a famous grandmaster in the past and cultivated the spear for decades. To reach the Tao realm, he was willing to be a slave and join the Lu family. If not, although he was a hero, he wouldn't be able to obtain spiritual liquids or treasures that had no impurities. Spiritual liquids were treasures that Tao realm experts gathered by swallowing spiritual energy. Although it was far from the sky dew, If a martial arts grandmaster could use it, it would increase their chances of reaching the Tao realm. For example, Liu Baiwei and the other princes were even more extraordinary. From the moment they were born, they basically didn't need to eat the food of the mortal world. They fed on the spirit liquid and other treasures. Their flesh and blood became purer and purer, and any martial arts they cultivated would improve by leaps and bounds. 19th Highness activated the Great Spirit God bloodline and is really strong. This spear is a little light for him, but it is better than nothing. There might be a tough battle later, so you can retreat. Liu Baiwei waved her hands. Princess, do you want to wear the cold horn dragon armor and the fire sword that the emperor gave you? The spear slave bowed and asked. No need. If there is a huge army fighting, then this armor can kill more enemies and break through their formation. But now that we are facing experts, wearing this armor won't be able to raise our cultivation. You won't be able to interfere with the person who comes, but you have to set up defenses in case other experts charge in. Liu Baiwei seemed to know the intel. Yes. The spear slave retreated into the cabin and waited. What expert will come later? Gu Qinsha asked. Tao Realm expert. If he isn't Tao Realm, then why would I pay so much attention to him? Liu Baiwei said with a faint smile. A Tao Realm expert is not someone you can fight. For safety's sake, you should hide in the cabin for a while. It isn't like I haven't fought Tao Realm experts before. Gu Qinsha said this on purpose, and he didn't lie. Sometimes, he revealed some clues which made Liu Baiwei unable to see through him. As expected, Liu Baiwei looked over like she wanted to see through him. Ayo, 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 a long roar spread out from the mountain in the distance, causing the mountains to shake. All living beings were panicking. Gu Qinsha looked into the distance and saw the source of the roar. A black shadow jumped down from the cliff and moved between the cliffs. Even an ape couldn't compare to it. A few breaths later, the black shadow jumped from the cliff to the river's surface. However, it didn't sink. Instead, it stepped on the blue waves and walked over. Wave stepping. When Gu Qinsha saw this ability, he knew that it didn't come with good intentions. He didn't even have such an ability. After cultivating to Tao Realm, he absorbed heaven and earth spiritual energy all year round and became as light as a swallow. He was much stronger than normal people and had great strength. Although he couldn't fly in the air, it wasn't impossible for him to stand on the waves. This person ran on the waves and was several times faster than a leopard. In the blink of an eye, he charged to the side of the ship and leaped up. He stepped on the body of the ship and used his strength to stand on the iron railings around the deck. This person wore a black coat and was like a bat flying in the air. He didn't look like a barbarian. His nose was high, his eyes were like stars, his eyebrows were like swords, and his face was really handsome. However, there was a thick, evil energy around his body. Gu Qinsha could sense that there were many vengeful spirits wrapped around him. This person had many innocent lives on him. If a person was righteous, even if he killed too many evil demons and was filled with killing intent, he wouldn't be filled with vengeance. Instead, he would be filled with sharpness and shock. This was the so-called Furious King Kong. Black Demon Bat. When Black Demon Sect was wiped out by the Imperial Dynasty, you actually fled and joined the barbarian race. Liu Baiwei held his arms behind his back. Evil demons are just evil demons. They have no humanity. Did you come here to attack because you received an evil god oracle? The Great Yonko Imperial Court is really lucky. Black Demon Bat's aura was cold. However, the barbarian evil gods are getting restless and have given out oracles. As long as you kill the officials, generals, and even commoners of the Great Yonko Imperial Court, there will be huge benefits. Your Yonko won't be able to hold on. That is because you have no god to protect you. Heaven Talisman Emperor is so stupid to actually offend all the gods. Does he think that he can fight against the gods alone? Even if all the ancient emperors work together, they won't be able to do that. You speak too much nonsense. Liu Baiwei's aura soared and continued to climb. He was about to launch a thunderous attack. Chapter 35. The Black-Veiled Bat's words were correct. The barbarian evil gods had decreed that anyone who killed Dion's commoners and officials would receive a gift from the evil gods if they went to the temple to offer sacrifices. Such a vicious move would definitely cause many martial artists and even the rich and powerful families to secretly rebel. How many of the pugilistic world's experts were stuck at the Grandmaster realm, unable to advance? It was hopeless for their entire lives. Now that there was a chance, who wouldn't want to take another step forward? So what if they betrayed the imperial court? In the past, the evil gods were extremely stingy. Even if you offered sacrifices to them, you would rarely receive a gift. But now that they seemed to have sensed danger, they gave up a huge profit. Anyone who offered sacrifices would receive a gift. This not only greatly increased the barbarians' power, but it also caused the people of the Yonko to panic, afraid that their neighbors would capture them and offer them sacrifices. More importantly, the Yonko-esque court had been ruling the country with rights and laws. Offering sacrifices to the gods was strictly forbidden. Even the righteous gods from the ancient times could only pretend to use candles and rituals. They couldn't kill or sacrifice their souls. This caused many of the righteous gods to cut off their ties with the world. This was also the way the Yonko governed the country, afraid that the divine power would affect the imperial power. In the past dynasties, faith was more important than the imperial power. Many sects wouldn't listen to the orders of the imperial court. As long as the gods of the sects issued a decree, the believers would immediately kill the officials and rebel. However, the rulers of the past dynasties couldn't do anything to them. They could only appease them and give them privileges that commoners didn't have. This instead caused the imperial power and the divine power to go against each other. In this dynasty, the heavenly talisman went on a killing spree, destroying hundreds of temples and sects that didn't respect the imperial power. Even the righteous gods and evil gods were all sealed. Although the imperial power was unified, surpassing the unity of the ancient sons of heaven, it was still spurned by the gods. Now that the common people are becoming more intelligent and are no longer bewitched by the gods, living in peace and contentment, I will not allow anyone, not even the gods, to destroy the peaceful lives of the people. Guchinch's heart was filled with righteousness. Now that he had obtained the heavenly talisman, he had to do something on behalf of the heavens. Kill. The rebar spear in his hand stabbed forward. Faint sparks flickered. This was the heat produced by the friction between the steel and the air. It was clear how fierce his attack was. The essence of the sun and moon refinement and the sun and moon transformation were all gathered in this spear. The bat's cultivation base was extremely high. He was a corrupt expert, and it was unknown how many Tao transformations he had reached. If he allowed him to gain the advantage, it would be difficult for him to escape his fate of being sacrificed to the corrupt god. At the same time, in order to obtain the corrupt god's gift, he had slaughtered commoners and officials to be sacrificed to the corrupt god. Such actions were intolerable to the heavens. If he didn't kill him, it was unknown how many innocent people would die to his hands in the future. If a Tao realm expert wanted to kill someone, they could come and go without a trace. The spear arrived in an instant. The tip of the spear was like a blossoming pear flower, and it was dotted with cold stars. It enveloped the bat from all directions, preventing him from retreating. This move was a spear technique of the Great Spirit God's technique. It was called Star Striking Form. The Great Spirit God held the divine spear in his hand and stood in the void, stabbing at the stars. He could shatter the stars in the sky. Presented to the royal family, the bloodline of the Great Spirit God. When the bat saw how strong the spear was, vengeful energy surged out from his body. He didn't look like a human. If I sacrifice you, the corrupt god will be happy. At least I will be able to improve. While speaking, he pointed forwards with his finger. His finger seemed slow, but it was actually as quick as lightning. Dang! His fingertip struck the spear tip. The sky full of spear shadows retracted, and Guchinch's spear was bent like a bow. At the same time, he retreated, and his organs nearly flipped. The strength from a bat's fingertip far exceeded his expectations. Be careful, he is already at the second transformation of Tao Realm. 9 bulls and 2 tigers. Lu Baiwe attacked. His body flashed, and he attacked. Is the strength of the second transformation of the Tao Realm so strong? I can't fight him at all. Gu Qinsha saw through his opponent's strength with just one move. The difference in realm couldn't be crossed. He had fought with Long Yuyun, who was at the first transformation of the Tao Realm, many times. Even though she was stronger than him, she wasn't undefeatable. If he cultivated for another 3 to 5 years and gained more experience in life and death battles, it wouldn't be impossible for him to defeat Tao Realm experts. After all, he cultivated the number 1 technique in the world, the Son of Heaven's God sealing technique. Tao Realm second transformation, 9 bulls, 2 tigers, meant that one had limitless strength and one's body broke through the limit. One would have a strength of 9 bulls and 2 tigers added together, or even more. Gu Qinsha calculated that he had the strength of 4 bulls and was one of the top experts. If he used Heaven Dew for a long time, he would probably reach 5 bulls. But that was his true limit. If he wanted to increase his strength, he would have to break through to the Tao Realm. His foundations were too weak, and from birth to 14, he lived the life of a normal person. It wasn't so easy to make up for that in a short time. The moment he retreated, Lu Baiwe and Black Ghost Bat clashed. Black Ghost Bat was the Black Fiend sect leader, and he was famous 10 years ago. The Black Fiend sect under him was huge, and after being wiped out by the Imperial Court, he joined the barbarian race. All of this was recorded in the documents. This person looked like he was less than 30 years old, but he was actually 80 years old. He used evil techniques to maintain his youthful looks. Moreover, after cultivating to the Tao Realm, spiritual energy would cleanse his body and he would age slower than normal people. His lifespan would also increase by 50 to 60 years. Even if a Tao Realm transformation one expert lived to 100 years old, he would look like a 40-year-old person. The strength of 9 bulls and 2 tigers is really strong. Gu Qinsha saw Black Ghost Bat attack. Even if it was just a light palm strike, the air within 10 steps would explode like cannons. When he spun, the air turned into a whirlpool that was many times stronger than his mountain moving, river flipping, and ocean flipping. This was the acquired earth energy that was formed when one's strength and speed reached an unimaginable level. Of course, the Tao Realm transformation chi into earth energy was Xiantian earth energy. It absorbed spiritual energy from heaven and earth and gathered it in one's acupoints. When one faced an enemy, it would release it. When it was strong, it could cut through iron like mud. When it was soft, it could lift one's body and glide in the air. It could also treat illnesses and turn energy into needles to open up one's meridians. Xiantian earth energy was many times stronger and more mysterious than acquired earth energy. Acquired earth energy just used speed and strength to stir the air. Gu Qinsha's the great spirit god's mountain moving, river flipping, and ocean flipping could only stir the air within 3 steps, creating a whirlpool and sonic booms. Black Ghost Bat's palm could spread to 10 steps, which was 3 times his. If not for Lu Baiwe, he would have been killed in 2 to 3 moves. Lu Baiwe struck out with 3 palms. These 3 palms were soft and connected. They were like a lotus, like mist, like a dream, like an illusion, like lightning. They pulled out a white energy wave in the air and broke through the Black Ghost Bat's aura. It is actually the pure En God palm. The Black Ghost Bat opened his palms, and they became as big as fans. Then take a look at my Black Ghost Demon palm. Their palms clashed, and footprints appeared on the deck of the Fire Shark ship. They were actually on the same level. Lu Baiwe was only at the first transformation of the Tao Realm and could fight against the Black Ghost Bat at the second transformation. Shwa shwa shwa. The Black Ghost Bat jumped into the air and kicked out 3 times. Lu Baiwe's body was like a fog. His palms turned into fists, and he blocked all 3 kicks. You can actually block my Ghost God heart-piercing kick. The Black Ghost Bat's voice was sharp, What treasure did you use to be able to block the strength of 9 bulls and 2 tigers? If you improve further and reach the 3rd transformation, you would have a 50 to 60% chance of killing me. Now, you're in too much of a rush. Lu Baiwei sneered. However, if you want to cultivate the 3rd transformation, you'll probably need another 20 years of bitter cultivation. Even your 2nd transformation will probably be something you've just cultivated. Every additional transformation in the Tao realm is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. If it wasn't for the evil god being forced by his majesty to send down an oracle, ordering you to kill many people of my great Yong dynasty as sacrifices, you wouldn't be able to break through to the 2nd transformation. Today, I will make you pay. Damn! Gu Chunsha was good at sacrifices, and after being reminded by Lu Baiwei, he knew that the black ghost bat had broken through to the 2nd transformation recently. He had killed many people to sacrifice to the evil god to get it. His arm shook and the steel spear straightened out. It was really flexible. Star Strike, Space Break, Demon Slaying. The 3 moves of the Great Spirit God Spear were activated, and then they merged into one. The 3 moves were even more powerful. This wasn't something that a grandmaster could do. This was a forbidden technique that used the body as a price. When Gu Chunsha activated it, he felt intense pain all over his body. His meridians and bones were about to break, and his chest felt tight. But he was prepared. He took in a deep breath and activated the Sun and Moon Heart refining technique. The dozens of Sun and Moon Dragon scales on his stomach disappeared, turning into heat that flowed through his body. All the pain and discomfort disappeared. The 3 moves merged into one, and the spear attack was twice as sharp as before. The spear shone brightly like a fire snake, and the smell of burning steel spread through the area. The baleful black bat was engaged in a fierce battle with Lu Baiwei. He did not expect Gu Chunsha to suddenly attack with such a ferocious attack. How long? The spear stabbed into his aura, breaking through the layers of energy and reaching his chest. The black ghost bat roared again and again. His left hand turned into a claw and his right hand like a hook, pushing and locking. In the blink of an eye, he released 13 layers of force. The spearhead was shattered in his hand. But at this time, Lu Baiwei cut in. She seemed to be chanting a spell. Her palm trembled slightly, and there were 18 layers of force. It fiercely pressed toward the black ghost bat's heart. The black ghost bat jumped again and wrapped his arms in a hugging posture. His eyes were blood red like a vampire bat. Black ghost world. His whole body turned pitch black. He had used some kind of strange martial art to dissolve 17 layers of Lu Baiwei's force. However, he still couldn't dissolve the last layer of force and was hit by Lu Baiwei. Puff! He spat out blood and roared again. He fell into the river, but didn't sink. He ran on the waves and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Damn it! He got away. Gu Chunsha ran to the bow, but couldn't chase after him because he didn't have the ability to ride on the waves. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.